You guys hear me?
Yep, good morning.
Yes. Morning.
Morning.
Yes, sir.
Morning.
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 Hang on. Okay. I downloaded the folder. And I finally got outside yesterday and realized how much I missed that. And managed to shoot a video and that stuff I've been talking about so I can edit it together this weekend and be done with it. But I think I'm going to add to it. I'm going to add a second location to it, but I'll add that in later. And I got about 3 other things I got to do this weekend. Not that it matters, but super nice weather. So if you guys can find a spot like I have up here, you know, where you can go out and draw or whatever without a lot of people, you know, a canyon or something like that. Up here, there's tons of spots, you know, because everybody's not flooding the mountain yet. They probably will start this weekend, I'm assuming. All right, so general questions? Anything? Yes, no?
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
I sent you an email about planes of the head, like the eyes, brow
I forgot about that, yeah.
plane, and ears. Ears are always problematic, like placement, and then just making the values of an ear look realistic, right? In some way.
There's a lot of, one of the books, I think I have it right here, hang on. I think I already mentioned this. This is a really good book.
I have that book.
Yeah, you have it?
Yeah, I do.
I know he has that kind of thing in here. And what I like about this book, and I probably said this before, he really breaks this down schematically. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like this kind of stuff here.
Yeah.
It makes it very, very easy to understand. Whereas like somebody hands you, like I have in my office, I have one of those flayed figures, you know, where you can see the muscles and all that stuff. And if, I think if you're looking at that as a student, I think sometimes it can be hard to sort of decipher all that information. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Because you're looking at it, it's hyper medical looking and that kind of thing. Whereas when you take it from this approach, I just think that's a really good way to look at it, just to kind of look at it, break it down into a system of big shapes and start to understand that. And then you can start to look at those figures, I think, in a different way, sort of understand how that stuff separates. Because when you're looking at it that way, I think a lot of people just get too hung up on the, you have to learn the anatomy, but I don't know. It just seems like it's all one way or another. Like the people who teach anatomy who are really good at it, they're just so into that academic idea of anatomy that I kind of go, okay, it just sort of lives in its own ecosystem. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Like they're not going, okay, we're learning all this anatomy because it applies to everything, because it does, okay? They sort of like, because I knew guys like this in college, and they were just so into drawing and painting the figure, which is great. But then when they go out and they teach, they're so academic. And I just go, okay, well, now these kids all think that this is the means to the, or this is the end of the journey, is me doing all these life studies. And it's like, no, that's a tool. Now, if you're going to go be a figure painter, that's great, whatever. Okay. I don't think most people are going to go be figure painters. I think most people want to do whatever it is they want to do, whether that's some sort of design career or whatever, travel sketching, and it's going to help you with all that stuff. But and then I see people and they get into this where they're just making endless drawings of that kind of stuff. And it's kind of like, and they can't get out of that thinking. And that's why I like this guy's book, is it's a little more practical.
Okay.
It starts, and I just saw a video by an instructor, you know, because I'm seeing all this stuff because we're all on lockdown, you know. And I saw a video, and you know, and I don't want to say who it is because it doesn't matter, but it was a drawing instruction thing online, you know, drawing something, and it was so academic and so bad that I just looked at it and I go, this is useless information. I mean, A, you don't even draw it well. B, you're using all this measuring devices and all this like academic nonsense, which tells me you never realized like that was an exercise. That's not how you draw. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like some of these things, and I've said this about, not just about art. I worked with a person one time and she managed to wrangle a vice presidency of this company, right? She didn't know what she was doing. She had a valuable account and she held it hostage, and that's how she got there. So every week we'd have these strategy meetings, and I realized probably 4 weeks into this, I go, this is some exercise she learned in college. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I finally in the meeting, I go, when are you going to get it? I go, this is an exercise. This doesn't work. This was an exercise. It was not designed for you to actually, this doesn't function in the real world. Does that make sense? All that stuff makes an impact on me, the way I think. And I'd go, oh, she doesn't know that, and she doesn't know what else to do with it. So they gave her the words and things, but she couldn't put sentences together. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And to me, school is supposed to be, you learn to speak a language fluently, not in this sort of stilted academic way. It's got to go back into the real world. Mm-hmm. And I've always had that problem with that kind of thing. And that's why I like this kind of book. But I also think you got to put this book together with like a traditional life drawing book like Bridgman. Because he's like more organic. This guy starts to get a little stiffer in his finished drawings, even though I think they're nice and all that. I'm trying to find the ear part in there. Because I'm sure that he... And by the way, it's good. I don't care how long you've been doing this, because I'm actually doing a little bit of it right now. Every couple of years, I'll just jump back into this stuff. And I'll just start doing studies and all that stuff to remind myself of like all this, you know, how this stuff works. You know what I mean? Because you kind of forget it. And sometimes I'll be out drawing and I'll go, how does that, wait a minute, I forgot. And then I'll jump back in and kind of look it up again. I love the way he like simplifies these into two values, like basically two values. Right?
Oh, okay.
So you look at this, look at the eye sockets on that. They're just dark masses, right?
Uh-huh.
It's sort of like what we're talking about. The whole side of his face is one mass. Really cool. I love the way he breaks his stuff down. This is great stuff here. This breakdown of the head.
Okay.
And that little shelf right there, you can really see that shelf where the eyes sit. There's that shelf that they jump back into. Oh, here it is. Now, I think this right here, and I'll kind of, this one right here is really valuable. He's broke that down into probably about 3 values, okay, and 3 big shapes. So he's going, let me open my Photoshop. And I'm almost through the one we talked about last week. I'm almost through that thing. What I started doing is I started going around and just looking at everyday objects in the house and cars and stuff like that, what we talked about, and sort of applying this idea of stylization to that and breaking them down. And I'm just riffing on it. I'm not trying to make great drawings or anything. I'm just trying to sort of riff on that idea, okay? I should have that. I got 3 things I should have done this weekend because I finally, like I said, I finally got out yesterday. So I'm assuming those things will be done this weekend. Hang on a sec.
So it looked like those portraits that you showed me, that one page showed us, they were really just done as value studies.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't really even look at them as value studies. I look at them as sort of, I'll pull it up here in a sec. I look at it as sort of just like massing the big ideas together, the big shapes together. And then within that going, how much do I really need here? You know what I mean? Because I think what people do, and that's why I don't like that word detail, because I think people get all hung up once you say the word detail. And I think, okay, and then the other thing is like when you're looking at the ear, the eye, or whatever, apart from the rest of the figure, right? Like a head or something, that ear is not going to ever be the star, right? It's never going to be the star, because it's the only time it's a star is when you're doing a study of an ear. You know what I mean? That's it. So you got to also remember, like these ears that he has here, these are plenty. I mean, if you were putting this into the context of a head shape, okay? But what I like here is, sorry, I'm all screwed up. I'm like kind of punch drunk right now, just from like, I forgot. Now I'm totally into the part where I'm forgetting what day it is. And I got it this morning and I go, oh crap, I got a class tomorrow. And I realized I don't have a class tomorrow. So I got one clear day where I can actually get a bunch of stuff done, hopefully. Okay. So I like, and I'm just going to do this kind of sloppy. Oops. Is it hot down there?
Yeah, it's pretty hot.
It's like you, right now is one of my favorite times, because like yesterday, I spend, I hate myself about this. It's like an OCD thing, but when I go out to, not just to shoot a video, if I go out to paint or anything, I drive around for too long trying to find the right spot. It's like a total OCD thing I have to stop myself from doing. But when I was driving around yesterday, it's a really nice time because it's really sunny and the weather's perfect and the sky's super blue, but like certain parts of the mountain that face, I don't know which direction, it's probably north, they still got tons of snow on, you know? So you get all that beautiful snow, but without all that cold weather, you know?
Nice.
Yeah, so it's really nice. So he's got this big ear shape here. You guys can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then sort of this ridge, okay? Which comes down to about there. But to me, it's like this little information he put in here. And I'm paraphrasing it, sort of. Something like that. And then I always think about this. You have that little overhanging ridge right here. So that's also going to cast a little bit of a shadow. And that, I mean, I could simplify it to that. If I put that in the context of a head, it's probably going to be fine. I might put a couple little things like he did here. You know, I might put like a little, start to indicate almost like a little core shadow around it, depending on what the light is doing and that kind of thing. But a lot of times, like if I'm stylizing these things, I'll just come in and go, you know, put a shadow value underneath it here, put that ear ridge, and that's all I do. It's like a lot of shorthand, okay?
Okay.
And really a lot of what I like about this book is a lot of what he's doing is shorthand, okay? You've got to like develop your shorthand. The one, actually yesterday when I was shooting the video, and I think I've said this before, but I'm getting all these great ideas from you guys. And it's like started a line of thinking in my brain, just like the everyday object thing. I'm going, okay, I was going to talk about this, but I'd rather just sit here and riff on the idea of how we apply this logic to just everything, okay? And then yesterday when I was out, that switched into two things, because I originally went out just go, well, let's kind of draw more of a natural landscape. And I found this little spot that had a couple of cabins in it, but it had a lot of trees around it and all that kind of stuff. And I go, I'll do that. And then I'm going to go back over and do another one, but I'll add that later. But when I was sitting there, it takes me like an hour. I don't know why, because I do this stuff all the time, but this particular setup has taken me, it's just been fighting me. I don't know how to explain it. But so I have this, like if you saw my rig that I set up when I film these things, it's ridiculous. It's like all these bungee cords, and it looks like a hammock holding a camera with a big umbrella over it and all this crazy stuff. And I had to put my drawing board on my little drawing easel thing, which ideally I like it sitting in my lap, because then I can flip it around and get different angles. When I have it on a board like that, I'm sort of limited how I can approach it, right? So I like to approach everything almost like a painting, and I like to approach everything really, really super loose and then build it up, right? But this forced me to start thinking about mark making and just going, okay, I can't really get in there as much and do this kind of thing, but I can go in here with the side of my pencil, make a lot of sort of abstract mark making that is approaching the drawing almost from like a painterly perspective. And that just led me down that path, okay? Now today what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that drawing, I'm gonna tighten it up here where I have more control over it, and then sort of show how you go from that abstract idea to a little tighter idea. Okay, so the situation's like forcing me to adapt to it in a good way, I think, right? And it's the same thing, sketching on location in general, sketching from life, whatever you want to say. You always have to adapt to it. You know what I mean? Because you're probably never going to get, just like that driving around looking when I'm painting or whatever and looking for the perfect spot. There is no perfect spot. You have to make it the perfect spot. So whatever you're doing this stuff from life, you've got to be thinking about, you know, how do I make lemonade out of lemons or whatever, okay? Does this ear thing make sense, Susie?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Just try and simplify everything, okay?
Yeah.
Again.
Well, you said that, you know, the ear is not necessarily the star. Sometimes my drawings look that way. That's what gets frustrating. So to remember that, and then this is shorthand.
Well, it's just like, okay, so it's just like, you know, again, yesterday in the landscape, I'm working a lot with silhouettes in that kind of thing, right? So I'm looking at like these pine trees and I'm going, I can just mask most of that stuff together. There's enough information there for people to understand it's a pine tree, but I don't need to put every needle on the pine tree to make the statement that it's a pine tree. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I got to balance this all out graphically and all that kind of thing. And you'll find out that like you can really just indicate a lot of stuff and it totally works as long as the whole drawing's sort of built up to that and it's supporting it. There's enough information there telling the viewer like, oh, I get it. You know what I mean? And then you got that big value in the foreground and then, you know, it trails off. Give me a little couple of hints of details like we talk about with trees, you know, around the perimeter, just that kind of stuff, and it's fine. Then I went back and I was looking at other drawings from some production, I can't remember, and they were doing all these studies of that type of environment like a forest. And it's fun to go after I go do something and go, wonder how other people have handled this idea, you know? It's fun to do, for me, it's fun to do that. Like I go, okay, this is okay. But then go back and go, I wonder how other people have handled this same kind of environment and get new ideas for shape making and things like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you.
And I like doing it after the fact because I don't really want to be all that influenced by it before the fact. Like I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of like copying somebody's stuff and all that kind of stuff. That's just not my thing. But it's fun to learn new. It's fun to learn new approaches.
Okay.
Let's go. Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Jesse has a question.
Yeah, I have a question. So the drawings that I did for this, or that I turned in this weekend, they were like loosely based off people from the sartorialist. But the pictures were mostly people only like just almost to their stomach, maybe like a little bit of their shoulders were showing. But I am trying to figure out how to build the rest of the body when you don't have like a picture reference, or just to make it look proportional.
One thing, this one, we saw this guy last week, right? Or Saturday, or whatever day it was. What day was it we met? I can't remember.
Was it Wednesday?
I think it was
Wednesday. Mm-hmm. So yeah, a couple of those we went over on Wednesday, and then a couple of them are new.
Well, one thing is when you start getting
those are the worst ones.
I don't agree with that. I think they're actually pretty good.
All right.
I don't know why. Hang on. This is my Photoshop is giving me trouble. Hang on. God, I mean, this whole week I've been having all these weird tech problems. Let me relaunch this. Oh, there it is. Okay. Now I see what it was. Okay, so let's go. Now this is the one, this one right here I haven't seen, but I think I saw it online, but I don't think, did you show me that? I don't think you did.
No, I did put it on my Instagram though. I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
probably where you
that's what
saw
I
it.
thought. I think that's a big jump.
Thanks.
What do
I
you
felt
think?
like it was too. Yeah,
Okay,
I
good.
I felt like this whole page kind of was a big jump.
Okay, good. And I like it when you guys recognize that, because I think there's this thing with this stuff and I get it. I mean, none of us want to seem cocky or whatever, I guess, but there's this thing with, you know, oh, I don't want to say my stuff's good, or I don't know, because I get that all the time with people, and I go, man, this is really great. Yeah, it's all right. I'm like, if you can't see your improvement, that's a problem, okay? Because part of this is trying to get your brain more sophisticated, and it's hard to look at your own work objectively, right?
Right.
I mean, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get kicked in the ass all the time by life because I think I did something pretty good, and then I look at the next day and I go, that's terrible. You know what I mean? Because then I'm seeing it a little more objectively. But if I wake up next day and look at it and I go, wow, I still think it looks okay, you know,
Mm-hmm.
then it means something. But this is like, you got the upper lip darker than the lower lip, which is nice. And the way you did her lips, it implies that she's wearing lipstick. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think she was. I'm pretty sure.
Was she?
Yeah, I'm pretty
Okay.
sure she was. Which I
And then
kind of
like your
just.
mark making around the eyes like that, it looks like you made a nice interpretation, like you darkened up the whole lid, which is interesting. I like the way you did the hair. I might do a little more massing here. Like in here somewhere, like find out where those masses are, and I don't know where they are because I'm not looking at it, but you know, maybe there's some massing going on in a few different spots. And that could just be some value. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That'll just unify some things. So her hair was like blonde, light color?
I think her hair was red. Honestly, on the three of these, I really like stylized and just kind of started deciding what I wanted their hair to look like. Or
Yeah.
because her eyes were not like that dark. She didn't have piercings, and I kind of just, her eyebrows were not like that, but I was like, this is what I want her eyebrows to look like.
Yeah,
This is,
exactly.
you know, building my own story.
Yes. I mean, what's the point of it if you're not doing your own story, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if this was a dark value, or a darker value, it doesn't have to be dark. See how I can highlight her face?
Yeah. Yeah, that
It
makes
doesn't
it
have to
pop
be
a
that
lot
dark
more.
value. It could be a lighter value. Go ahead.
Oh, I just said it definitely makes it pop a lot more.
And you
Makes her
know,
look a little more ghosty.
I don't have to go that dark. I could just go that dark. I could go darker, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
So,
that starts to come into the design idea where it's like, oh, I got a big mass over here. It doesn't have to be dark, but it could be, you know?
mm-hmm.
And just like, I don't know if this will work on here, but I might be able to like unify the side of her face maybe a little bit. Now I have to be careful with that because I don't want it to look like a 3-day beard.
Yeah, it's not totally the aesthetic I was going for, but 3D beard.
But I could do like a little shadow value on the side of her face, maybe put just a hint of a little core shadow, that kind of thing, right? It's just stuff to play with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But what those things are is I mean, again, they're tools you throw in your toolbox. Okay, value, line quality, shape, editing. I mean, those are all things that are going in your toolbox, okay? And then like this kind of thing, like blocking the side of the face, that's just a shadow value. It's a value thing. But I can use it as a graphic element, okay? Or with the hair where we're popping things out. So, you know, you got this light value on this side. I might put a shadow value on this side of the face. I mean, I'm just playing, basically, is what I'm saying, okay?
Mm-hmm. I put a shadow value under her chin on her neck a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
I feel
a good
like
idea.
I felt like it looked okay on that drawing. I noticed on some it looks a little bit too much.
Yeah, you know what? That's an interesting point because like you always have to balance this stuff out. That's why like formulas don't really work. fundamental design stuff kind of work because you always know you got to adjust it because nothing works universally across any of this stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I do the same thing. I always like to have that little shadow value, but sometimes it'll go, it'll get too graphic sometimes, like on a certain type of face.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the edge where it meets the face is too hard on one of them, but that works really well on another one. Like if somebody has a very angular face, that might work, but a lot of times it rolls up a little bit and it's soft. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And
Definitely.
I think for a lot of what we're doing in here, and paper texture obviously is your personal thing, but I do think for what we're doing in here, a smooth paper works a lot better. You have a lot more options really with a smooth paper, unless you have some technique that you love doing on rough paper. And I'm not saying that the choice of paper is up to you. But like if you go in and do these like soft, I used to be like completely anti anybody smudging pencil because that gets away from you so fast. And it's something that it's one of those things I call like a 7th grade sort of drawing technique where the word shading and like smudging, it's stuff that people do like in junior high school and it just tends to look terrible. Does that make sense? You still there?
Yes, it makes sense.
But if it's used right, it looks great. You know what I mean? If it's used with restraint where it's like I was just drawing this guy in Indiana like a month ago or whenever it was we went over there. And he had sort of a soft, little bit of a jolly cheek. And I just barely smudged that with my pencil on this smooth paper. And it was really subtle, but it showed that cheek mass a lot better. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Okay,
again, it's another graphic tool, just like we're talking about with this, you know, value form.
Mm-hmm.
I think line quality is a huge one, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And even here we could probably, and I don't know if it'll work. Is this the one you're going with? Or are you still playing?
I'm not sure yet. I think so, but I kind of got a little discouraged. I think I uploaded it. I tried to like build the rest of her body off of this sketch. And then I was like, this looks so wonky. And now I'm not sure how to do this and if I want to go with this.
Okay, if we're talking about it from a design perspective, let's go back over here.
Did that sketch upload the one where it's just her and the rest of her body? I think I dropped it in there.
Irritated femmes.
I felt like that was an accurate description of those folks.
I just like that as a category. That's a funny sounding category.
I just realized that the Sartorialist also has categories that you can be more specific to find people on there, just for anybody who's using that website. If you're looking for people only in denim or people in lipstick.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's kind of somewhere at the top, but you can go through like men and women and it's really specific. It's awesome.
Yeah, I've seen the men and women. And what I always wish they would do is just put a kind of an old guys, you know. I like a lot of the old guys on there. I just think they're interesting. Let me see if I have this. So what was the name of that file you're saying? You know?
I'm not sure if I named it, but there's only a few I dropped last night.
Because I've got 4 in here, and I don't see one with. I don't see one with that girl with a body on it.
Oh no! Can
you drop it in there real quick?
Yeah.
Because that'll help me figure it out.
Yeah, I'm sorry, maybe I didn't upload it. I wasn't super stoked with it, so.
It's a learning process, man. You know?
Yes. Amen.
It's tough. I mean, it's the frustrating thing about this. I think it's the same thing with anything with music or ballet or whatever. The people who are so good at it, they make it look so simple, you know? You get it in your head, you know. But a lot of it's doing your scales and your exercises, and then you get to play a song. You know, it's just the way it is.
Do you want me to drop it just on like the main page or on the April 25th?
April 25th.
Okay.
Susie, where are you at? You in Orange County or are you in Palm Desert or whatever it is?
I'm in Brea. I'm in Orange County.
And it's warm down there?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what the temp will be today. Probably close to 100, I'm thinking.
Wow, really?
Got pretty hot yesterday. Yeah.
I think it said the high today was like 91 or 92.
Oh, good. That sounds better.
When you're up here, like as much as, because usually I'm back and forth all the time, but I haven't been off the mountain. I mean, I went off the mountain to go down to the campus on Thursday, but other than that, I haven't. And it's like you forget. I just saw somebody posted something on Instagram recently and said like 93 degrees. I'm like, it's 93 degrees? Because it doesn't usually get like that up here.
Yeah. Yeah. I bet it's beautiful up there now.
Yeah, it's really nice right now.
I'm just worried if it's this hot already, what July, like June and August are going to be like.
Hot. Hopefully. I mean, isn't that what wipes out
Fiery
like,
inferno of
viruses?
death.
Huh?
A fiery inferno of death.
Yeah, right. Well,
I'm not ready to think about that. Yikes.
everything kind of feels sort of apocalyptic right now.
Yeah.
I mean, yesterday, I mean, I shouldn't even talk about this, but like every time I look at the news in the morning, I go, can this get crazier? And every day it gets crazier. And it's been getting crazier for like 3 years. It's like, when does this, I keep visualizing this train with the, you know, careening down a track with the wheels coming off, but it never quite goes off the track. You know what I mean? It's like, what is keeping this thing on the track?
Yeah.
And then the thing with like ingesting cleaning products. Did you guys hear that yesterday?
It's insane.
That has to be the stupidest thing an American president has ever said. It's frightening how stupid that is. I actually don't think you have a bad start here, Jesse. I think what's going on, did you pose this out or did you have another picture of that?
No, I posted out.
Okay, so I'm going to do this over here so I don't look totally stupid. Okay. It feels like I might be able, and a lot of this I just start off sort of this way, where I'm just sort of trying to figure out, because when I just did it, it kind of felt natural to kind of throw my hips forward a little bit. I don't know if that's because I'm a guy, I don't know. Okay. I love this, like this arm doing that, holding the other arm thing. And then I wonder about the head in relation to that. Should it be, and that's, where did you get the idea of a hand like that?
I don't know, just like the vibe that the photo I drew of her. She looks sassy. Looks like she'd be doing that. I don't have a much more in-depth answer for that.
No, I think that's fine. I think what's interesting about, I wouldn't have thought of that, but it's a real good signaling kind of thing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like I get it, but it makes sense. I always do this sometimes. I mean, if I'm doing it digital, but I'll do it on paper too. Sometimes I'll just take a little piece of trace. I think I've talked about this. I'll tear it off and I'll just do a quick thing of the head and I'll move the head around a little bit and see, is it better here? Is it better back here? You know, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But it feels like, I mean, it feels right for her head to be down on her shoulders like that. I'm going to knock this down a little bit. I think we might be able to get more. And I'm deliberately using like a fat brush. I don't want to get all detaily or anything. Sometimes if I'm using a fatter tool, like a Prismacolor or a grease pencil or something like that, I can't get fussy with that kind of, well, Prisma you can, but you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like a blunter tool that doesn't allow you to fuss too much over it. And kind of, it feels very snotty teenager to me. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Which I like. I think one of your problems here, I think the upper body is actually working pretty good. I think the expression's working pretty good. I think we have to figure out this little leg thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because kind of
like
when you're doing that, especially when I think of it in terms of like a teenager or something, a lot of times they're doing this to kind of be annoying and to sort of telegraph their disapproval or whatever you want to call it, or that they're being so mistreated or whatever it is. So a lot of this is because I mean, if you have kids, you know this, where they'll do this kind of thing, and you're like, "Get out of here! I don't want to look at you right now," because they're sitting there going, and just like making this big statement about how unhappy they are. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want to see if let's take the legs out of it here. And I'm not even sure where I'm going with this. And then the pose actually, because it is, in my mind, it is sort of a presentational thing. I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking like, okay, I'm telegraphing my unhappiness. So the pose might get exaggerated in ways it probably wouldn't normally. Does that also make sense?
Yeah.
So it gives me sort of license to go, I might try putting the legs together in some kind of weird way that I normally wouldn't do. I'm trying to get that like downward thing that they get when they do that. That sort of, I don't know how to explain it. So maybe her arm goes way down here.
I kind of wanted to indicate too, I was imagining her like shoulders being slumped a little bit, kind of hunched over.
And then I also go, she could also be sort of looking up. And again, what I'm doing here is I'm looking for it. Does that make sense? I'm looking to see how I can push this pose. Now, right now, she's a little leaned over that way, but there's something about her looking up I kind of like.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also wondering, like, if we took this.
Like trying to give her a smirk.
Yeah, sort of just that. You see what I mean? Like the mouth being slightly off center a little bit. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Would you move the chin?
Huh?
Would you move the chin a little bit if you did that? If I off-centered
all these things like force me to go down rabbit holes because what I'm doing right now, basically, I do like her mouth turned a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I can visualize how that would look, especially in that pose.
Because you're doing that like kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just looking for all the little indicators because the thing with this is, it's partly posture. It's partly this. So that's her chin a little smaller. or closer. This one's too lean this way. I was trying to sort of get the hips out a little bit, but I can't figure out what you'd be doing with your legs if you were pissed off like that. So maybe it's a little less of, I think maybe it's just the head's way down like you said. Just can't quite get the right posture for it. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Also, you also maybe could turn the head 3/4 view, and then you can have the eyes looking over at the viewer. So you're not looking directly at them. Does that make sense?
Sorry, that your computer broke up like super bad. I didn't hear any of that
Hang on.
until you said, does that make sense?
You could also turn, or at least try it, turn the head slightly, they could be, sitting like this, but looking over at you sideways. If you turn the head a little bit, right? I mean, my thing goes down the psychology of it, of somebody's being demonstrably unhappy. So not looking at me directly, but kind of side glancing me is also another way of telegraphing that kind of thing. You know what I mean? And then that closed off posture, I mean, you're already sort of understanding all this stuff. It's a posture thing. I can't quite figure out what the exact posture should be. I know it should be sort of slumped, inward, closed off, all that kind of stuff, which you're already kind of getting. But I think in relation to the question of wait, now it's popping. Okay. So who is she, do you think?
I don't think she's a teenager. I think she's probably maybe like mid-20s, old enough to go to a bar and be irritated by people at a bar. Maybe that's where I envisioned her.
Oh, okay.
She's not like an irritated teenager. She's maybe like irritated from like
I see.
mansplaining
or like I am when I go out into the world and everybody annoys me, right?
perhaps, yeah.
There's the social distancing
Or like people,
thing.
yeah,
Go
people
ahead.
who are like not picking up on social cues. Maybe she's like irritated by that more.
Well, could she then be instead of standing, could she be in that scenario?
Oh, behind a bar or sitting in a bar.
Yeah. And then it becomes about this kind of posture.
Oh, okay.
Feels like she needs to be lower to me.
For the project,
Yeah.
do we have to have one drawing of them like full body though?
Yeah, but I think that can be pretty loose, and you can, well, this could fall into, like, remember we talked about doing a couple of poses? This could fall into that, right? Just see maybe her hand. I got to figure out, that's annoying. Yeah. Her, what's going on with her. And again, this is going to become a posture thing where you're kind of like, oh, God, enough of this. You know what I mean? I mean, I know that feeling. Hang on, I got to recalibrate my pen.
I'm still trying to build more of a story with. I couldn't tell which one I want to pick yet though. Or if
I like that idea of just being annoyed with people in that kind of way. Maybe it's because I relate to it. I don't know. But again, it's going to be that sort of posture over the bar or whatever, which maybe it's not her holding a drink. maybe it's this two arms sort of clasped over each other. Does that make sense? You know, sort of like this on the bar. And then maybe I could pop a cocktail or something in front of her. You know, and then maybe back here I've got Johnny Loudmouth, who's the guy who's annoying her. You know what I mean?
So I know you said don't rely on props too much on information, but we can add like some things that might indicate like, you know, like a bunch of hands coming forward, like they're trying to buy a drink.
When I say don't get crazy with the props, I think I told you guys this. I had somebody in digital drawing, and I cannot remember what the character was. It wasn't a good idea to begin with, but so she drew some half-assed drawing of somebody in a hoodie, which says nothing, and then she puts like this quiver of stuff behind them, like I think it was weapons or something, like all these weapons and stuff. And I go, what is this? And it's a warrior or whatever the hell it's supposed to be. I'm like, this doesn't tell me anything. You just crammed a bunch of weapons in there to tell me that this person's this. You know what I mean? That's all I mean. Like if you have somebody sitting like this at the bar with that expression and a cocktail in front of them, actually it says a lot. Does that make sense? Because the cocktail, and the reason I usually go for a martini glass is like, you don't drink nothing other than a martini out of a martini glass, right?
Yeah.
I like those bourbon glasses, you know, that's another one, like a low slung cocktail glass. You usually drink cocktails out of that. And the reason that matters is because I need the viewer, without me drawing the whole bar, if I'm sitting in that position with a cocktail in front of me, I know you're in a bar. And I'd argue her leaning over exasperated like that or annoyed like that, I kind of get it. There's a lot of things in a bar that are annoying. You know what I mean?
Yes, I work in a bar, or I did.
Oh, okay,
So.
I can't even imagine doing that every day. That would make me crazy. Being sober around people who are drinking is so annoying. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Everybody wants to talk too much, and they're rambling and they're repeating themselves. And I mean, that alone is annoying. Okay. Or like people, we're going to go someplace and they go, hey, be designated driver. I'm like, I'm not driving a bunch of drunks around all night. Forget it. You know, that's what Uber's for. Okay. So does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
I think that like maybe placing her head down, you know, with her arms forward on that, there's a lot to play with there. It's getting that posture kind of right. Okay. I think this was a really smart idea, the way you have her hold onto her arm like that. Now I'm going to have to play with it because it's in my mind. And whatever I play with, if I come up with something, I'll send it to you. Okay.
Yeah. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Because I'm just kind of like, I want to play with it. It's a little trickier one, but I think the way you're approaching it is good. And I also think the scenario is good. It's not like a super obvious thing. And that's what I like about this. Like, however you arrived at this, I like you kind of coming up with hopefully some sort of methodology around I can't teach people to be creative, but I can hopefully help to put a process around it. Does that make sense? And it'll change and all that kind of stuff. But now I want to see if it's about these shoulders being up high.
Oh yeah, I think that's gonna help.
And then, oh, guess what? I have to calibrate my pin again.
I also tried drawing. The second drawing and I think that discouraged me actually a little more because I don't draw digitally that much, and it was kind of tricky.
What was tricky?
Drawing digitally.
Oh yeah, stay on paper.
Like yeah.
I'm only doing it digitally right now, just for convenience of getting it to you guys. Like that's why I've been so hot on getting outside and doing a tutorial. I'd really rather do everything like that. But again, that required from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock to get that accomplished, right? And I haven't even edited it yet. Yeah, so maybe it's like, you know, hands overlapping, maybe looking down again. And I'm changing all this. I'm just trying to look at posture. You know, maybe looking sideways, which tells me there's something over there that's annoying. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe the drink here. There's a great drawing of, and of course I won't be able to find it. Let me look real quick. Oops. Yeah, here it is. Ah, of course it's tiny. Oh, here it is. I forgot about this drawing. I mean, look at that posture. Can you see that?
Yeah, that's really good.
I love that. Okay. And then look at his, how he shoved that mouth way over to the side to emphasize that cigarette, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hair's masked, but it feels, you know, you put a couple of loose ones. I mean, this is kind of everything that we want to do, sort of, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it could be that loose, man. I'd be stoked.
Okay.
I mean, that's a finished drawing to me. You know what I mean?
Okay. Cool.
But stylistically, the only thing I don't want is people to strangle the drawing where they clean it up so much they sort of strangle it. I just don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
But this kind of like pushed posture is another thing that I just think it's really thinking about the pose, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Now, he's another one that I always go, oh, he just hits it out of the park all the time. And then I read an article on him where he was talking about struggling through some New Yorker cover. And he goes, I threw it in the trash. He goes, I was done with it. And his wife came in and goes, you can fix that. And he went through the whole, no, I can't. And I've already done 15 versions of it. I'm sick of it. I don't want to do it anymore. And then she talked him off the cliff, you know. And he finished it. And he was like going over, because it ended up on the front cover in New Yorker. But all he was talking about with the drawing is like, everything looks like it's floating. This isn't working. This thing doesn't work. And if you looked at it or I look at it, whatever, you look at it and you go, that looks awesome. But when he starts pointing it out, you go, oh, I get it. I get what he's talking about. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But point being is that these things that look so tossed off, a lot of times they're not. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he really
What
thought
artist
about
is this?
that. Huh?
Sorry to interrupt. What artist was this?
This is Peter Desev. He's probably my favorite contemporary artist because I love the looseness of this, and I love that I work almost in the same way he does, but I didn't find him until I was kind of later. But it was nice to find him and go, oh wow, he's pushing that even further, because I almost felt like, and it's something that I want you guys to sort of learn, that you don't have to wait around for permission for things. And I tended to do that. I think a lot of people do, where I'm like, well, I can't draw like all this broken line, loose stuff, abstracty way I like to draw, because I was at Art Center and everybody sort of drew in that much more cleaner, linear thing. And then after a while, I was like, screw that, man. That's not the way I draw. I like drawing like this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And one of the reasons he's a top-notch guy, he's a top-notch character guy, is because he has a very personal style, you know? He's got this other drawing that I love. Hang on. I don't know if I can find this one either. Let's see. I mean, like a lot of these things he posts are, you know, like that, or like doodles. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But they're so cool. Let me see if I can find this. No, hang on. I always have
It
trouble
makes,
finding this particular
I
drawing.
don't know if it's random mark making, but some of it almost looks like it is, but it still looks so cohesive.
Yeah, okay, so what he's doing there, which is why when I found him, because it's the way I like to work actually, is what he's doing here is sort of what I'm trying, and again, I'm not trying to change your style or anything. I'm just talking about approach. But what he's kind of doing there is the same way I like to work, which is I like to force myself to be sort of as loose as I can. And again, I always call this smoke to stone. But and I sort of start just going, do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just starting with super loose stuff, and I let it start to suggest things. Like this little ridge on that shoulder right there suggests a structured suit to me, because that's what I didn't do it on purpose, but that's what a structured suit does. Okay, so that means I can add that over here. Then I've got sort of the beginnings of a kind of schlubby suit. Put some buttons on it, and then I can start to go, okay, so what do I do with this face, which is also starting to get to be suggested. And then I start going in and picking the lines that I like, and I start kind of emphasizing them a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a really good exercise to do. I know it takes a little while to get used to it. Like if you can kind of start to marry this with like your structural stuff, like it could just start with, I'm going to put these shoulders up like that. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to really lengthen this face. I'm going to really drop the eyes way down here. Going off the same idea as this guy. I'm going to drop his mouth way down here. Pull his shoulders up here. Give him a cocktail. And just start playing around with the idea of that thing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll go, okay, that cocktail's too in close. It should be out here. I think. And all I'm doing at this point is going, you know, are these big shapes working? Is this idea working? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to try, 50 variations of this if I like it. Because how do I know if it's good if I don't contrast it against other things? I'll go, I'm going to drop his shoulders a little. If you drop his shoulders, it's a completely different thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That, all these things put together, when you do a drawing or whatever, people get really hung up on one thing. It's like, no, this whole thing, whatever you put in there, all of it has to support each other. Otherwise, none of it works. Like you can draw great things or whatever, but you can't draw bodies and it's not going to work,
I've been getting way too caught up, and I don't know if anybody else feels like this. You get stuck on like the head and then you put too much detail and completely forget about how the rest of it's going to connect?
That's totally normal.
Okay.
Okay. But what you can do is, like I said, if you're starting to think about body shape, again, it's the same thing we were talking about last time, where it's like making these things really simple and geometric, because I do this all the time, you know, and then going, I'm going to really push those hips forward. Just to see if it works, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to go, okay, now I'm going to drop that head down. And maybe that arm does that little bend right there. You know, you have that sort of, the arm will do that thing where it looks like it's kind of bending weird.
Mm-hmm.
Or does that maybe? I could try that. You know, how low does those shoulders need to be? But I can find all this stuff out just doing these sort of simple geometric, couple of tubes, triangle down here for a foot. And all I'm trying to do is find a pose. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And if I found one, if I start to go, I kind of like that, then I can go, okay, this is a jacket. And I know it's not a girl anymore, or I guess it could be if I change a little bit.
Girls wear jackets?
Hmm?
I said girls.
I know, just the way, for me, it feels more like a guy right now. But,
Oh no, it froze.
did it? Am I here?
Oh yeah, you're there.
Okay. You know, and then I could start to build on this. Hang on. Then I could start to build on this in the sense that I start to add actual, you know, indications of, you know, shoes, a flip on the pants, a fold, the other side shoes, so on and so forth, right? Right now it's an awkward pose, but you get the point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So start it with these really just, now I'm going to try this thing. You know, maybe the arm's over here. I don't know. You know what I mean? And I would actually get up and pose it out. I'd have to figure it out that way because it's a really good idea, you know, and you just got to get it all to work. And I think how they're looking at the viewer is important too. Sometimes I like to do that side glance thing. I do that a lot, but part of the reason I do that is because it feels like the character or whoever you're drawing, it feels like you're sort of in on their thinking. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like if the character's looking sideways over at you like that, and with that sort of annoyed expression, they're sort of like, you believe this guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I like that pulling you in thing. I think, I don't know why, I just always think it's funny looking. Okay? Does that answer that?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
What else do we have? Question?
I had a question.
Yeah.
On the character sheet, when we were talking about it last week, it had like a range of expressions and almost like a little bit of a head twist going on. Anyway, I struggled to draw my character to look like it themselves, or
In different poses?
not even different poses, just different expressions. So.
Yeah, that's normal. I kind of want to get the characters nailed down a little bit and then sort of talk about expression.
Okay.
Because what again, I know I've said this, but I'm really big on sort of methodical. We go here, then here, then here. But I think by next week for sure we'll be talking about expression. Because I feel like hopefully everybody, these are pretty good. I like these. What do you think?
Thank you. I like them. I just feel like she has like a different head shape in each of the drawings.
Yeah, it's something like, I talk a lot about that in another class that I have, but I mean, it applies here, obviously. So like when we're doing character stuff in building character, okay? So like if you look at in animation, and I have some that I need to get from my house. Hang on.
I guess what's hard is for me to visualize it as like a 3D form in my mind.
Super, super common. I mean, I think we all go through this. So when they make an animated character, and this is the best, this is a simple one right here. They do a character sheet. It's called a model sheet, okay? So like when I was working on stuff like at Disney or something, I'd have to go pull a model sheet, which I hated doing this. And it would have this simple breakdown of how that character works, okay? So what I always tell people when you're designing something, and it could be for anything, it could be for your own personal comic book or whatever, you want that character to look consistent. So when you're building that character, you want to think about how that, let's say it's the head construction, and you're going to notice that I always have a head shape in my head, so that's one you're going to see throughout this class, then it'll switch, but whatever. I'm going to make it really simple. You know, basic head shape. And what I'm always thinking about is, okay, if I turn that this way, and you don't have to make a big model sheet out of it. How am I going to handle this nose from a front view? I know his eyes are going to be like that. You know, and I got to play with it a little bit to make it feel like the same guy. This guy over here feels like he's got a little narrower head, so I'd probably pull that in a little bit. But what I'm thinking about is, can I break this thing down, just like you're looking at that Bart one, into some really simple shapes and like go, okay, this distance is always going to be consistent. This distance is always going to be consistent. And then the same here. That chin always lands like that. And you can sort of figure it out for yourself, and then you can start just to turn it, because then it becomes an issue of like, you know, what's he look like from the back of his head? Does he have that fold right there? I think we were talking about that last week. You know, what he kind of looks like from the back. But as long as I'm thinking about it geometrically, how I'm building that, I'd usually start with a front view probably. How I'm building that and the distances and things. Then all I'm doing is I'm going, okay, that same blocky shape, I'm slightly turning it now. And now the axis, this axis, is going to move over to here, but I'm still popping those same shapes on there. And after a while, you get where you kind of go, okay, I know how this is constructed. I used to do it with, I think I told you guys this, when I was doing those stories for NPR, the first half hour, I would sort of draw the players I was going to draw for this thing, which sometimes they were politicians or whatever. And I'd sort of get a handle on what their head, or how they were constructed, okay? And if they had any really demonstrative mannerisms or anything like that. And I just sort of get a handle on it, because they were going to be talking and I'm going to be drawing them. And I'm trying to just be a fly on the wall, and then they're going to turn over there. And I need to be able to sort of, you know, finish the head shape out that I was working on, or create another one. And I'm doing all that by creating sort of a model in my head of the construction of their head. Okay. And I could kind of keep a likeness. It's not going to be perfect, but it'll get by. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Break it down. I know I keep saying this, but it really is the key to it. Break it down geometrically and just go, how is this constructed? Just like how is a TV constructed? It's kind of the same thing. You know what I mean? Oh, it's got a circuit board, a screen, and this, that, and the other. Mine starts with a square. It's about halfway down. I put the eyes. I drop his ears, you know, one length below his eyes, and I just kind of give myself landmarks. And then I just think there's a center axis, and if I turn it, that center axis is going to move, and I'm dropping the same shapes over it. And it takes you a little while to kind of work it out. You need a little sketch page to work it out. But you can get it really consistent, you know? And you always have to think about that if you're creating characters. And it's a different world now, but in 2D, they were always concerned that you could make things that were animatable, not overly complex, okay? If it was too complex, and it had to be constructed in a certain way and all that kind of stuff, that's where this kind of thinking sort of comes out of, is that sort of thing. But to me, it applies to anything. I don't care if you're a painter and you have a recurring existential character in there. You want them to look the same from painting to painting. Like, that's the same person. That might be important, okay? Or a comic book, or, you know, a lot of different things. And I've seen a lot of stuff where it changes page to page, and it's sort of like, you know, you didn't think about this. This is a simple character, and you didn't just do this little model sheet and just kind of figure out how it works. It doesn't have to be perfect in a comic book, but it has to be consistent. You know what I mean? Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. All of a sudden, you go to the next panel and you go, who's this guy? Oh, it's that guy. Oh, that doesn't look like that guy from page 4. What the hell happened? You know what I mean? Okay?
Yep.
Yeah? What else? Questions? Hang on. I'm trying to find this drawing I want to show you guys. Here it is. Hang on a sec. There we go. This is another drawing by the same guy. You guys see that? Look how balanced that is. That's a tricky pose, okay? And the way he's got it, just, and there's so many things about that are great. His expression of joy while he's playing, that great little hand position he's got on the violin, the looseness of this hand, and how everything is so balanced. I mean, you can flip this any way you want. It's bulletproof. It's just bulletproof balanced, okay? Nice loose. And then if you look at things like this, because this guy's a great line quality guy. Look at, right? Here, that dark line right there, can you guys see that? Yeah? Why is that there? It separates that foreground leg from the background leg. That needs to be there. Look how he put a heavy line right here, okay? And right here. Let me get a red pencil.
Is that Brian Ajar, Mike?
No, this is Peter DeSev.
Oh, that's also Peter DeSev.
That's interesting because Brian Ajar is a guy I just found, and he's got a really similar style.
Yeah, he does have a similar style.
But it's different in his own way. It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I love his stuff too. He's like one of my new favorites. Okay, this line here, you put a little line right there to separate it again from the background. Now, a lot of this line work is also, what he's doing is separating a lot. He's thinking about light, but he's also separating a lot, okay? This one right here is a little darker to separate it from the violin. Look at this little string hanging out there. What else? Dark values in here, dark value in here, dark value here because this is a light value. Dark value in here because this is a light value. Okay, dark value there to finish the back of the head. Dark value behind the ear to pop the ear. All those things are decisions. Does that make sense? Right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I also love that he doesn't take out all his exploratory lines, which I just think is I just like the way that looks. I think we were talking, I don't know if I was talking to Susie about it or somebody like that. But, and this is a super loose tossed off thing. Well, I shouldn't say tossed off because I don't know. I don't know what it was for, but it's awesome. Okay. Let's go back here. And I would also argue the only one to me that's starting to look a little different here is maybe this one. But that's about it. The other ones, I know they're the same person, okay? Yeah? Skylar?
What?
The only one on that page to me that felt a little off was just that one that I just pointed out. That's it. The other ones, I all know it's the same person, okay?
Okay.
And even when when they're all on the page together, I know they're all the same person. Just if I took that out, apart from the other ones, that last one. But the other ones, I think, are pretty consistent. Okay?
Awesome.
Let me see what else I got here. I'm going to pull things that I think are interesting because I'm trying to pull stuff that has specific answer questions and pull stuff that I think has specific or general stuff that kind of applies to everybody. This one right here, that's a cool drawing. This is a cool drawing.
Thanks. I drew it.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, it's pretty balanced. Might loosen this up a little.
Mm-hmm.
I think the way you mask the hair is really good.
Mm-hmm. Like what I like again, like with characters, I had to what I did is that I had to see the simpler shapes of the character and then not too much of the ear. And then what I did, I just go for it. Just gotta get loose on it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. If you can sit there and you can get really loose, you know, and start to harness that a little bit. I'm adding things in here. I love this shape right here. I love that shape. Love that shape. Oops. Oops. I probably would get rid of this line right there, only because, and I don't know, I could be wrong. Just to keep her face sort of softer. Like with a lot of times with guys, I'll emphasize that jaw a little more. With women, I'll kind of let it disappear a little bit. Now that, again, that's just a rule of thumb. Sometimes it doesn't work at all. But I'd probably let, I'd probably let this part just be a soft value to separate her jawline from her neck. And it's probably going to barely be there. You know. And then up here, I kind of clarify this. Don't let me switch back over to my brush. Oh, that's why. Hang on. I don't need to save this. Okay. Here, I probably clarify. Okay. I clarify this stuff here. I'd make it more of a clear statement up here. How this hair is kind of parting right there. I don't like the way I'm doing it, but I'd also, like down here, I could probably get a bigger statement down here with that hair. I could probably mask that together and then probably mask it all the way up to here. Depends on what color her hair is, obviously. And then probably just give that a little dark value before it turns. and just unify it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I might even give her a couple of stray hairs here and there. I like that. And there's a lot of nice shape language in there to play with. I love that, like the compressed, like under her nose to the chin feels kind of compressed. I like that. It really kind of pushes that she's looking down a little bit. It's a nice one. Let's see. Susie, what do you got in here? We haven't looked at yours, have we? Did we?
I put up a character, little girl that I came up with. But, you know, since we met on Wednesday, you could skip me for a while. I don't mind.
Take a look. Do I have new stuff in here?
Yeah, there's a woman eating an ice cream cone. And then,
Did you post something new online?
yeah,
What was it?
that was it.
Oh, that was what it was?
Yeah.
I remember seeing something online. I thought it was cool.
Well, you know, I was trying to develop her as
Develop
a
what?
character, and then all of a sudden it went straight to a little girl with an ice cream cone, too.
Oh, this one, okay. So this is the newer one, right?
Right.
Oh, I like this one right here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I like this one too, and I like what you're doing with the hair. It's kind of like what we talked about the last time where you're doing that, and I go kind of clarify it a little bit, and it looks like you're clarifying a little bit. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yes.
Like you're massing the hair together nice, but you're also keeping it sort of loose and organic, okay? I mean, I think I know what it is you like to do, which I think is you like observational stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And pretty straightforward, like you like doing that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because you keep getting better and better at it, okay? Like this thing here, oops. You know, like you got those, what are those called? Braids, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's something fun to play with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can do the big kid eyes in here if you want. Maybe I can see your ears. I like this big collar, but I might really emphasize that a little more. And then this kind of big shape is a good idea, this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And again, while we first start doing this, I could really care less about the pose, really. I just want to start to find maybe this, you know, it looks like it's cold, so this maybe this hand goes into the pocket. Big buttons. Gloves, right?
Right.
Maybe a big furry cuff. And then the ice cream. If I'm going to do an ice cream, see how small that is? It's getting lost.
Yeah.
I'm going to make it, you know, a crazy ice cream. A double decker or a triple decker.
Uh-huh.
But you'd probably be happier. She's got a big collar up against her shirt. And I might keep going with this idea that it's cold. Somebody's typing and I can hear it. Hang on. Who's typing and I can hear it? Okay, just stop. I might make her her boots really small, actually. I don't like it sinking in like that. Get a little loop. And then I'd really want to emphasize these ponytail or pigtail, whatever those are called, braids.
Mm-hmm.
However I do that. Maybe they come out like a la Pippi Longstocking. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then a big pocket probably right here. That might not work because you got that one on the other side. You know, and then I kind of go, I don't know, maybe she's got like a little dog with her.
It's cute.
Maybe he's got a little bowl with his own ice cream. Maybe in the top of his ice cream, he's got like a little cocktail umbrella. So his ice cream is all fancy, right?
Yeah, I like that. Cute.
You know, and then I could have the ice cream in the other hand, and this one's her little leash. You know, maybe this one's holding that thing and she's eating the ice cream and he's eating ice cream. You know, and it just automatically like gets me like, okay, who are they? You know what I mean? And it starts to tell me. It just starts to tell me. When you start, it's just like that video we did last week. I started putting a bird on the guy's head, and then you start going, oh, okay, that's something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know why I put a bird on his head. I think I put a bird on his head because I love, you really see the seasons up here. So when it's been really snowy and everything, and all of a sudden it's shifted into having a sunny day, and outside the window there was all these blue jays all screeching out there. I like that. You know what I mean? Or when I'm working in here, I can hear a lot of birds out here. There's a lot of bird action right outside this window, and it's just nice to hear. It sounds like spring. You know what I mean? So that was probably in my head. You know, whatever's floating around my head's probably what rises to the surface. But I like to think that I'm kind of looking at what these things are, and that's how I'm kind of coming up with my ideas. And if you notice, see how I put that little triangle there where the coat meets?
Yeah.
It's just a little more interesting.
Okay.
Right? Or I could put a little pocket right here. And then the pocket is like, what's in the pocket? The pocket, you know, like I always do that pocket square with old dudes. But I mean, what's this kid got in the pocket that can tell me something about her? You know?
Okay.
What if there's a little mouse peeking out of that? And then you go, oh, she's an animal person. You know what I mean? Like all her little friends are animals. Maybe there's a little mouse peeking out here, you know, whatever.
Okay.
Get a couple of birds around. I don't know. I just go down the rabbit hole. And then I just eliminate things and add things, eliminate things, add things. That's it, right?
Okay. Thanks. I like it.
Last week, I think I said this online. It took me so long to get the class video up because we had all those technical problems. So I had to edit all that crap out of it because I just thought it was annoying. I mean, there's 20 minutes of me going, well, let me see if I can fix this. Can you guys hear me? So I edited all that. That's why it took so long. Because it took like 3 hours to edit that damn thing.
Wow.
But I just know from the perspective of a student, when I see annoying crap like that, I'm like, why didn't you take that out? That would drive me crazy if I was a student. You know what I mean? It would, because I'd go like, I don't want to watch 20 minutes of you trying to get your computer to work.
Well, thank you for that.
And I like editing anyway, so whatever. That's all I'm going to be doing this weekend, actually. Okay, those are good, Susie.
Thank you.
Who else? Just went through Elon. Elon.
Elaine, yeah, what's up?
Huh?
It's me.
Okay, you added quite a bit of stuff, it looks like.
Yeah, just still doing more exploration and trying to see which one I can make characters out of.
So let's look at. Be careful with this guy here. Oh, it's not too bad. It feels like he's leaning a little too much forward. When I flip it, actually, it's not too much.
Mm-hmm.
So I might be wrong on that. Oh, you're tackling horses. That's a pain in the ass. That's good. Okay, this one I saw last week, right?
Yeah, just to add
I
those.
saw this one, but I don't think this was here, and I don't think this was here.
Yeah, I was just wanted to fill out the page, so that's why
I love this one right here.
Yeah, I liked her expression.
I also like the kind of angular shape language. Does that make sense?
Yeah, she did have a bit of that, but I kind of made it a little more angular just to push it a little bit.
Yeah, I love that. I don't know why there's certain shapes that I just like. And one of them is this kind of this kind of eye socket, real pronounced cheek. Then it's coming in on this side too. And then I love the way you popped that out and angled it. I mean, that's really nice. And then this is sort of angular. Like you're really following this idea. Oh, this is great right here. That's great. And then this, when you're sort of giving me like the curls and everything, but you've also masked it. Back here, you masked it completely. And you gave me enough information here on this that I don't need a whole bunch here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's
I think
nice.
I'm getting a hang of the like that kind of hair texture a little bit better. So
Hopefully what I think you're getting a hold of is that you're just understanding it from a shape perspective.
yeah, that's what I'm
I think
doing.
you're learning how to interpret shape.
That's the stage I'm at for sure.
And that's it, man. That's half the game right there, man. If you can get these things to balance and read, you know. This is a nice one here. This guy.
For some reason, his hat reminds me of like those alpine yodelers.
This one,
So
this one, all you need is a toilet.
Sorry.
Right? Pants down on the ankles. Be careful outlining the lips like that.
Yeah.
The thing with like expression, and I'll go into this more next week, you have to, it's the same thing. You got to sort of abstract it, especially with like mouth shapes. People will sort of overthink it, where if you look at like Sargent or somebody, that upper lip, he'd just get a brush and go boom. And it was like an abstract shape and then boom. And it's just how those two things relate to each other. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's really, you got to abstract it. Okay. And like some people, I forgot who it was, did one today. I think it was Brandon, the one we were just looking at, Brandon. The way he sort of, this whole unit right here felt like a unit, like that little round part and then into the lip and then the chin. It really felt solid. It felt solid as a unit. Okay.
Yeah, that one was one of my weakest ones. Yeah.
Which one?
That one you pointed out.
I think you gotta, it's that thing we talked about. I think we talked about this in class with that Cal Arts guy. And I always paraphrase the number because I don't know the number, but he would always walk into the first day of class and go, okay, you all got 300,000 bad drawings in you. Let's get rid of them. It's that, okay? We have to, like, you're just chopping through the forest and then you find the magic city of gold all of a sudden. You know what I mean? And what's really weird about it is if you keep doing this and you keep getting great at it, it feels like you didn't work that hard for it, even though you did. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
All of a sudden feels like all of a sudden you've got the magic trick, but I don't know why it doesn't feel like I worked hard enough for it. You know, even though I did, we work hard for it. And the other thing that's weird about this lockdown thing, by the way, is like, does anybody else feel like this? Like when I think about the beginning of the term, it literally feels 10 years ago. You know what I mean? Like we went through the beginning of the term and then got somewhere into wherever before the middle. And then all of a sudden this thing happened, and that feels like some whole other life ago to me. It's super weird to me. It totally expanded that time out. Okay, this is a really good one right here. That's great right there. Yeah?
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
See how balanced that is? Yeah?
I think I used the mirror on that one.
Yeah, that works. What's that from? Just a photography?
Earthworld, yeah.
You know, it's there's certain places I've been looking at where I'm like, I could go over and observe humans there, even if I have to do it from the car. there's certain places I've been finding like that. Up here, I tend to go, I can go wherever I want up here because it's all forest or whatever. But there's certain places where I can go, well, people are going to the market or whatever. There's people who draw like putting groceries in their car, and I can sit in my car and do it. Look like a weirdo, but who cares? There's certain places where I can observe herds of people, I think this thing's probably going to start, I think it's going to start dissipating pretty quick. Because I just went into the markets, and a lot of the markets now have paper towels, they have toilet paper, they have all that stuff they've been out of. And I'm seeing people more out and about, but who knows, right? This one also is a really nice one. Here. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Now, the only thing I'd say here, and I like a lot of what you're doing, like you're doing a lot of different things with the hair where you're handling it in different ways. And I like this. Just sort of define it. I like this. Oops.
She had strands of white hair popping out, so I probably should have went in with like a white color pencil to separate that. So I was.
The only place it falls apart is here. It starts.
Yeah, that part.
Random.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because she had.
Stuff doesn't feel random.
Yeah, because she had strands of white hair, so that was like more. It didn't follow the mass, so.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well,
yeah, so that's why I was trying to.
Look in there and find that mass. It's in there somehow, and then you can sort of play around with
Okay.
that. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Or like if it's a curly afro-y kind of thing, you can develop like a little tighter scribble language for that, and sort of dense it up, and then have the ends sort of popping out. So you can make like sort of a little dense language out of that. Okay.
Okay.
But it's got to be controlled. Like I do that all the time on paper, and people think I'm just scribbling. I'm going, when I finish it, does it look like I scribbled it? It's like there's a logic to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm always thinking about that. This is interesting shape right here. And I like this little. I'd even shorten that up a little bit. I mean, just for fun.
Okay.
Oops. I don't think I'm just talking. I like how skinny this leg is compared to that big fat pant leg. I mean, there's something fun with this. Whenever I see a cane, I always want to draw, or a walking stick or something like that. I always want to draw like a carved lion head or something on the top of it. What do they call those things? Like trinkets and things around it and all that kind of stuff. And then that leads me down to, okay, who's that? You know what I mean?
Right.
This is interesting here. I like that. And then look how you simplified the hair here. That's cool. I like how you did that hand too, like the way you constructed the hand into that simple finger shape.
Yeah.
Right? That's nice. I like that. Ooh, this is a good one too. Right here.
Yeah, that one I was just like, I'm just gonna look at it just like as a whole bunch of shapes and just draw it like that. Like I wasn't focused on the smaller shapes. I was just more focused on the tertiary.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean the bigger shape. Yeah.
Shapes, right?
Yeah.
Hang on 2 seconds. I think my girlfriend needs something. Hang on. Just let me mute for 2 seconds.
Elon, I love the pattern on her coat, the zigzag.
Oh, thank you.
That's great. These are really good.
Oh, thank you so much.
Now, are you still using tone paper, or is that how it photographed?
It's still tone paper. I just like using tone paper just because I can, in case somebody has like highlights in their hair or like other things that are not like skin color or warm, then I kind of do that with white color pencil or with a white gel pen.
Okay.
Yeah. And it gives like a really nice, how do I say it? Like a nice separation from what I want to focus if I use like white or something to make it pop out.
Sometimes with the white color pencil, for me, it just gets so muddied up with the graphite, with the pencil.
Right. So I tend to avoid going white pencil over the graphite. I'll just put like a little bit in like a space. Like if I were to do it on someone's hair, I won't put it exactly where I put all the graphite marks on. I put it like in between the spaces,
Okay.
so that it will look white and it won't look muddy.
It's got to be on clean paper.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Or if
Do
you
you feel
do
like you
want,
add the white? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Elon.
oh no, it's okay. If you do want to add white on, I guess, graphite, you can try doing it with a pen, but I probably only use it for like specular highlights, like their nose, if you want to have that really shiny spot on the nose that Mike talks about.
Okay.
That's one where I use it. I was talking about using tone paper and how I use white color pencil sometimes to separate things.
Yeah, that's why I put up the one on Marchfield, because that's all in tone paper. Okay, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I would look at that, and what Elon was just saying is, yeah, that's right. I'm probably, as soon as I get these 3 big things out of the way this weekend, I'm going to start doing, because I really like this thing of just sitting here and riffing on ideas that you guys came up with. And then I have the big ones that I have to get done. But maybe I'll just do a really, 5-minute thing about that. But one of the things I think what Elon was just saying is, I have a picture, hang on, because it just popped up on Facebook. So let me see if I can find it. You know how Facebook does that thing? They show you something from years ago. Let's go. Let's put this in a different, hang on.
Also, Susie, what Mike is going to show you, white color pencil it goes a lot better on marker than graphite.
That's true. Yeah, that's totally true. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Or anybody, right?
Okay.
So what I do here, and I usually do this over there, but if you look at this wing, this is basically the wing right here. You know, right here, right? And what we're doing there is the wing, a wing sort of rolls over. It has sort of a complex curve right here, the leading edge. Does that make sense? You know how it rolls over the front? Well, what that does is it creates a sort of complex curve, okay? For you to, as a artist drawing it, okay? So, you know, sometimes they'll put like if I take a wing like here's the wing, and I have that complex curve on the front, you know, some people will just put a sort of a contour line over the front of it to tell the viewer that's happening, right? Now that works fine if you're doing product design or something like that, but if you're just there like what you want to do and just capturing a moment, you don't want to do that. That's more of a product designing thing, right? So what you'll do, what I usually do here is I have a white Prismacolor and a paint marker, or you could use gouache, it doesn't matter. And then what you do is you go where it rolls over here, and I take a gray value marker, and I create that core shadow, right? So what's happening with that curve is the light's coming from above. It's a very lit environment, and these are very shiny objects, right? So the sun comes, bounces off the ground, and bounces back up into under the plane, right? And it's also got the light above. So what does that do? It squashes that core shadow right onto the edge of that leading edge of that plane, or that curve, right? And then I can take a white Prisma. And why do I use a white Prisma? Because a white Prisma is not going to go to crazy screaming white, okay? So I can come in here with the Prisma, and right above that core shadow, I can hit it. See how that's just like a nice light thing, and it's starting to turn it, right? And then it'll get a little light under here too, by the way. So we start to get a little bit of a curve, or a little bit of a pour right there. We don't want to overdo any of this stuff. Then I take my paint marker, because there's going to be specularity here, and I go right, like let's say right here. Oops. I go boom. And I get that little bit of specularity there. Does that make sense, Susan?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so we set up our highlight, then we get our paint marker and set up our specularity. And there's not specularity everywhere, right? But there is on the leading edge of that plane, probably. There's going to be specularity like you see it right here in the canopy. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
That's the same idea. So what happens here, and I think that's in that video, is I set up this canopy, right? Then I put these, hang on. Then I put these dark shapes in, you know, these gray shapes in here. And then if you notice back here, this is a dark line where the strut or the frame goes over it, right? But when it comes towards me, it becomes less of a line. So what does that do? And then I go, now I set that up, right? Now all I gotta do is take a Prisma and go right over the top of all that, and all that jumps back and it looks like a canopy over it. It's just an optical illusion, right? But I set up all those shapes first, right? Then I go, okay, the back, where it goes into the back, I'm gonna let it silhouette so it feels like it's going around behind something. Then my lines in the front part of it, if you notice here, I get, my line gets heavier and darker in the front because that pulls forward where that contrasty line goes, okay? Super easy, like every time we do these in the field and everybody goes, well, that's cool, but it only takes like 5 minutes, you know what I mean? To do all this, it only takes about 5 minutes, okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah, thanks.
So it's good to have, and I have on my Instagram somewhere, I put up a thing of what I take to this kind of thing, and it has my paint marker, white Prism, it has pretty much everything I think I use in this, and more. And then down here, you're getting into a brush. That's a brush pin to make that big shape. This core shadow is probably a brush pin. That shape's a brush pin. So then I'm going in with my big fat brush pin. But what's nice about a brush pin is I can also get a nice clean thinner line. And then I use that to sweep down here. This line under the fuselage right here is a big, you know, I put it in initially with my regular pin, and then I flip it over with a brush pin and go and hit it, and it, boom, it goes underneath because you got that fat line underneath. The sun's up here, right? It's an interesting environment in the desert, as you know.
Yeah.
Because if you look at rocks, people who are not looking at them will look at those rocks and they'll go, oh, it's going underneath, so it's going to cool off and get darker. And in the desert, a lot of times, that go out to Joshua Tree, man. that light is so screaming all over the place, and there's so much warmth everywhere. That light hits the ground, it bounces back up into the rocks. So it actually warms up the bottom. And the same thing happens with these planes because it's out in the desert and the light's bouncing back up into the belly of the plane. So it creates an interesting environment from a value perspective or even a color perspective. Make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
What's James doing?
I have a question, Mike.
What?
Is it generally like easier to characterize older people than younger people?
I think it's probably. I think that you can see the units of an older person's face a little easier. You know, when people are young, right? Especially really young, they don't. I mean, everything's sort of smooth, and I mean, you can. But I don't like to look at that and go, "Well, that's uninteresting." That is totally interesting to other people. I think it's interesting too. But the thing with older people is you can see the units of their face. You know, it's the, you know, the nose feels a little bigger. These lines right here sort of make everything, this whole unit feel like almost like a ventriloquist dummy, that whole thing. The chin, and then the neck starts going this way, and the ears can get bigger, and I drop them down. I don't know. Yeah, I just think they're fun to draw. You know, I don't think I'm unique to that. But I think anything can be interesting from a shape perspective. You got to make it interesting, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I feel like I'm still like struggling with like. Well, just feel like it's easier with older people right now.
Yeah, that's probably true. Again, what is that? We've been talking about this. Find things for now that don't, you know, that you can see the shapes really well. When you're learning a process, I don't think it's smart to go, I'm going to draw this 4-month-old baby screaming, crying. I mean, that's not going to be easy to do. And you know, they're blobby, sausagey looking things, babies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't really, you know, and then again, some people think that's an interesting thing, and that's cool. But find those, and if you're digging that, drawing old people or whatever, go for it. It's fine, right? Now later on, you can, and you'll do this anyway. You'll just start challenging yourself, and you'll start getting, you know, more used to it and comfortable with it, and you probably won't think about that stuff as much. Okay.
Oh, ignore that page. It's like a first drawing page.
This one?
Yeah. They're gross.
Huh?
They're gross. Those ones.
No, those aren't. I don't think those are bad. You guys
James, don't be ashamed.
Yeah, look. Number one, they're not. You're acting like, oh, this is a good one right here, Elon.
Oh, thank you.
That's great. Man, you're really getting the hair thing. Yeah. Okay, let me go. Torture James. Ooh, that's another good one right here. Look at that hair. Well, that's a nice balanced drawing right there. This is cool too. This one's
Thank you.
cool. Right on. I got a bunch of them here. That's me. Okay, hang on. Okay. These are you, James, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you're starting to get, yeah. Watch this kind of stuff. Right there, right? Here. That's not how that's going to happen. Right?
Yeah.
Well, one thing I think is good to start with, and what sucks, is we didn't get to go to the Natural History Museum. One of the things I like about that.
You cut out.
Did I? Am I back? Am I right?
Yeah, you're back. You just said
okay.
Yeah.
Birds are a good place to start because they have this really simple silhouette. you know, it's just a few parts. Does that make sense? Head shape.
Mm-hmm.
Birds are really hand you all the shapes. They got this body shape, they got the wing, the head shape, the beak, and the tail, and the legs. That's it. But you can see it very clearly. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like another good thing to go draw at right now is if you can go to the park that they have a pond and they have ducks or geese or whatever. There used to be when I used to go into Temecula and just had a ton of birds and stuff like that. It was really cool, you know, and it's a good place to go. And a lot of times they hang out. They don't like move around all the time. Some of them will kind of sit around or float around the water or whatever, and you get a good view of them. But it's another, you know, it's sort of, I feel like it's a gateway drug into animal drawing because you can see the shape so easily. Then when you get to a horse or something, it gets much more complicated, right? Yeah? James?
Yeah.
Who's this guy right here? He looks familiar.
I don't know. Well, I think he looks like I got him from the Sartorialist, but he looks like I don't know if you ever saw the Bug's Life short, the guy chess one.
Chess?
Yeah, it looks like him, I think.
Yeah. I like this one. I think you can go ahead.
I don't know, I think that one's like the best one I did.
I think you can go a little, clean up that line a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Then again, this could get some value in here. A couple of dark values maybe in there. Don't like that one. Yeah. Might put that value up here because he's got that hat on.
Mm-hmm.
Back here, where that collar wraps around his back of his head, it's nice to get a dark value in there. See that?
Yeah.
Right there, it sort of ends it. I'm always thinking about that, okay? My pocket square. It's a good one.
Thank you.
Okay, you're making improvements. Look at this one. That's an improvement. This one right here. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
It's way better, man. So's this. So's this.
Thanks.
Now, which one's in chronological order? Is this one earlier?
That one was, yes, that one was before the previous one.
Yeah. I mean, look at the difference. Where's this one from?
I think that one was the third one I did.
This is starting to work too, this guy. But not random with the beard, right? You know, how does this work here? Probably not a hard line there, maybe, but a little. I always take advantage of this little part there. This isn't a bad. This is a pretty good ellipse. One thing you can do with when you do a cup like that is if the lights come wherever the lights come from. Let's say it's coming from there. That means this side can get a little darker.
Okay.
And it just helps.
Yeah,
It helps it.
Yeah, it makes
Looks
sense.
like you're starting to put a core in here, which is good. You know, and then this can kind of come around a little more and break that edge a little more, and this probably can too.
Mm-hmm.
And then that line can kind of do that. I think it's like as simple as these beanie hats are, they're kind of hard to get right. You know?
Mm-hmm.
At least I think so. And then probably, again, a little value inside that eye socket right there. Right there. See how that helps those eyes? I mean, it's totally simple, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is a really nice one here. Is this that guy on Sartorius is wearing that crazy suit?
Yeah.
Yeah. This a nice one. No, these are, you're proving, man. You should be stoked about that. You should be stoked about this page.
Yeah, I think that was my favorite
You should be
page.
stoked about this page.
Good job, James.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hard work, man. Right? Pays off. You been drawing a lot?
Yeah. I got an iPad too, so I've been messing around with Procreate a lot.
On paper. Right?
What was that?
Screw iPad, stay on paper. The iPad's great, I get it. But I think learning this fundamental skill set, I think your fundamental skill set is stronger when it starts with traditional media, okay? And I'm not a traditionalist. I'm not somebody who goes, oh, it should always be on paper. I'm not saying that, but I think that you should have some skill in that, and I think it's going to inform your digital work. I know anybody who goes out of this program and goes into the world to work, especially at the studios or anything, you're going to be working digitally. I get it. But what I'm trying to make sure that you're understanding is a fundamental skill set. I know a lot of people who work in the industry or whatever, and if you take them out of that digital environment, they're not very good. And they sure as hell can't paint or any of that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? They can use, they rely on a lot of tricks with that technology. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, and you know, whatever, it gets them through the career, and that's fine. That would bother me. If I didn't have a good fundamental skill set, it would really bother me. And if I was, that just doesn't work for me. I need to know how things work and all that kind of stuff. I need to feel confident in my skill set, you know? And by the way, that's what's going to give you confidence when you go out and look for a job, is that you have a good portfolio and you go, I want to show this to people. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh crap, I got an interview, because I see this all the time with people. And I get it. Interviews are nerve wracking. I always liked them. You know what I mean? Because it was like, I'd go in and go, yeah, I want to show you my stuff, man. You know, and so it's weird that I like those because I have so many other phobias, but that I just had no phobias about. That's because I thought I had a good skill set. Okay. At least I think that's what it is. Or I was delusional, one or the other. Might be a little of both. Just kind of going through.
Can I submit some planes next week?
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so as soon as I put up this video that I'm working on right now, which I think Susie gave me the idea for, and then it starts to percolate, and I forgot, I think we were talking about everyday objects. The more I thought about that, the more I was like, that's a cool, especially right now we're all locked up, you know what I mean? And people go, well, there's nothing to draw. And it's like, yeah, there is. There's stuff to draw everywhere. Like, and especially when you start talking about taking the stylization approach to it, you know what I mean? And you could even, you know, I'll put the video up as soon as I get it done. And again, these are just going to be things I'm riffing on. I'm not worried that much about the drawing. I'm more worried about the message. Does that make sense? Yeah? Because I don't want to sit around and worry about like, oh, I got to make every drawing perfect drawing, because then it's going to take too long. And I like just sitting there talking about the idea. What month are we in anyway? April? Okay. Where's Yvette at? Is Yvette here?
Yeah.
These are interesting. Like picking this guy. That's a great guy to pick. Yeah, I mean, man, he's got a fun face. You know what I mean?
Right.
I saw him drive. This was years ago, before he was as known as he is now. He was known, but not like he is now. And he was driving around. He was Marina Del Rey, like a bitchin' convertible, like smoking a big cigar and stuff. And I'm like, that's exactly how you expect that guy to be. You know what I mean? Steve Buscemi, it's another good one. Yeah, I mean, you're picking guys. Yeah.
Buscemi was a little harder to draw, but
you know what's interesting?
Maybe
You know what's interesting to do is when you get stumped. I do this all the time. Like sometimes I'll go painting somewhere and I'll go, I can't find anything here to paint, which I always feel like that's a big defeat because that's on me as an artist. And then I'll go, I don't know, I'm just not feeling it. And then I'll go home and go, and I'll type in that place and type plein air painting or landscape or whatever and try and find paintings other people have done there. And every time something will pop up and I'll go, how did I not see that? Like, what a great scene that person found. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's the same thing with this kind of thing. So if you go, let's see. Come on. Of course, now my computer's starting to slow down again. God, it's so annoying. Okay, I'm waiting for that to come up. Anyway, you can go and look at like somebody like John Cash or, you know, these people do these amazing character things. Let's see.
Johnny Cash?
No,
You're talking about?
no, John Cash. John Cash
John
is just
Cash.
this one. I thought he did one of them. I don't see it here. He's this monster caricature dude. But what's interesting, again, you know, I'll do something, and sometimes like you'll be looking at somebody and you'll go. I had this happen actually on a job where we were doing what's her name, Matt Damon and Greg Kinnear were in this movie where they were conjoined twins and they were baseball players. It was like a Farrelly Brothers movie. And I think we were going to do a promotional thing for it or something for the movie. I can't remember now. But anyway, I had to caricature both those guys for the sculptor to do. And like Matt Damon was easy. You know, his shape language is super easy. It was, I spent like a day and a half on Greg Kinnear just because it was like, I couldn't get a handle on because he's kind of classically good looking. And I'm kind of like, I can't get a handle on this guy. You know what I mean? I had to do a million sketches to finally land on something. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah. He just was, I don't know. And I deliberately didn't look at anybody else's take on him because I go, I don't want to do that. I got to figure this out on my own. And then, you know, then you go and you do a search on it and you go, oh man, that guy nailed it. Like he saw it, you know, I didn't see that, you know, you've got to see that. You got to amplify these things that you're seeing. And sometimes it's tricky because they're not obvious. I mean, Steve Buscemi has a pretty interesting face, right? He has those weird eyes and all that stuff.
It was hard not, because he does have some like softer features. He kind of started looking more feminine, but yeah, then I lost the, I don't know. I give myself like, I believe it was 20 minutes and if, you know.
But okay, so you know what's interesting about this one?
Yeah. Oh, I think I'm going to stick with that one. Like just keep messing with it and developing the
Yeah,
features.
because what I was going to say is like you kind of figured out the simplified, exaggerated Willem Dafoe. Like I knew that's Willem Dafoe right off, right?
Right.
And like this is what I love about this kind of thing. This is what I'm always trying to find. Is like how can I simplify this? And you found this idea of that cheekbone kind of going and then going into this weird shape, that jawline. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, and then the hair and all that. And then that weird, he just has a weird face, period. You know what I mean? But you
but it's kind of fun though.
Yeah. And you found the simplified form, which it's all about. And what you just said, where it's like, I think I'm going to stick with that one and play with that idea. That's it. Now, you know, what else can I simplify? What else can I, you know, ideally, I like it when, like this guy. And I know this is a little different language, but this guy is kind of a master at simplification. He literally just breaks things down into super simple shapes.
That's Woody Allen, right?
Yeah. But look at, like, and he always does this crazy take on everything.
Is that Bill Murray?
I think that's Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But like,
Okay.
look how simple the shape language is, and he always nails the likeness, you know, and kind of pushes it beyond what you would think.
Who's this artist, Mike?
Pablo Lovato.
Amy Winehouse.
Pablo Lovato.
I think it's with a V.
How do you spell that?
I think.
Oh,
Amy Winehouse.
You know, I don't know that much about him actually, but I mean, I think he's amazing, obviously, and I love that he kind of developed this vector style. He's a really good guy to look at for like that kind of idea of like, how do I simplify this down to almost nothing and still keep it, right? And still hit that likeness like crazy.
What'd you say his name was?
Pablo Lovato. I'll link him on Canvas.
Okay.
And also look at his shape language, like these little simple shapes for the necklace or whatever. And then this just crazy stuff with the pattern. Doesn't even put the other eye in.
Prince, nice.
Yeah.
Johnny Depp.
Look at this language for the hand. And for the shirt and all this kind of stuff. These things look like they're fun as hell to do. Don't you think?
Yeah.
That's all vector, I think. I mean, it looks like vector. I'm pretty sure it is, actually. So that's kind of what you're doing here is this simplified shape language, right?
Right.
Which is really hard to do.
Snoop Dogg.
And I love this. I hate these stupid hand gestures, but I love that hand coming out of frame doing that. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's so great. And just the way he squashed his face, and you look at it and you go, yeah, that is exactly how he looks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's, to me, that's what a good caricature does. It's like, that looks more like Snoop Dogg than Snoop Dogg, especially now. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there's some weird thing when you can nail that where you go, God, that looks more like the person than the person. That means you really got something.
Mike?
Huh?
You know what that reminds me of, that Lobato's work? Do you remember color forms?
Yes.
Yeah.
The model things?
Yeah, and just taking
That's
those
exactly what
shapes,
it is.
creating something.
Yeah, color forms. I loved color forms.
Yeah.
No
one else knows what those
I never
are.
thought of that. Huh?
No
I
one
never
else.
thought of that. Yeah, that's what it is. You know, they should,
Yeah.
you know, the problem with those kind of things is they were so tactile. And there was something, I don't know if this is just nostalgia or whatever, but I think there was something so fun about actually things you touched and you had to use your imagination a little bit. And I feel like there's a loss of that with this generation, because I feel like the story, I probably said this before, but I feel like the story is always handed to them. You know what I mean? Or it's sort of a closed imaginary system where you go, okay, I'm playing this video game and I'm driving a race car. And well, okay, there's not a lot of room for me to put my brain in there. Does that make sense? The narrative's handed to me. Or it's a video game. There's been a pandemic and zombies took over the city and I got to go shoot all these zombies. The story's already there. You know what I mean? I think there's, and then when you drive around nowadays, you don't see kids out playing that much anymore. They're not out in the front yard playing. Everybody used to be outside, you know?
Yeah.
And you were like, I know you could say that, like, there was, now you talk to kids, you know, because I go, well, Saturday morning, you would get up, you'd watch cartoons, you'd eat breakfast, and then you were gone. You know, you were on your bike, you were gone until night, right? And now parents now are like terrified of that idea or whatever. And I go, yeah, your parents didn't know where you were, really. You know, you go, oh, I'm going over to my friend Tommy's house, but you didn't stay over there. You just went wandering all over the city. And it felt like exploring when you're really young. You're just like exploring all this stuff. Everything's new. It sparks your imagination. And then you had all these mishmash of toys. So you had to make up your own stories and all that kind of stuff. I feel like that storytelling element and engaging that muscle of your imagination is getting lost. You know what I mean? I don't think the kids are creating the narrative for themselves anymore. And and that idea of craft and tactile, craft especially, but we've been getting away from craft for a lot of generations, where you had to make everything yourself. And then this gets a little easier and you keep getting away from that sense of craft. And I think craft is the most important thing. You want to have a good sense of craft. You want to take pride in what you're doing. This is a craft. It's an art form, but it's also, at the heart of it, there's a craft. You know what I mean? And the craft is drawing and painting and designing and whatever, but there's a craft, like this Lovato guy, or I think it's with a V, Lovato. This Lovato guy is using modern technology. He's using Illustrator, you know what I mean? But there's a heart to that stuff. I mean, this stuff feels really, he has to work over that stuff quite a bit because it's so clever in how he's doing it. And he probably gets that basic shape. And the reason I'm talking about all this is this Defoe drawing to me is the basis for that kind of thing. Where you go, I got the basic understanding of this language now. Now I can play with it like crazy. You know what I mean? And I can go, how much can I reduce off of it and still make, just like that Prince one where it's just a couple of little graphic shapes and you're like, I know what that is. I know that's the color. I know, all these like crazy shapes, and he's bouncing them all off and just being super creative with it, I mean, that guy's amazing. And he gets a ton of work. He's all over the place. But anyway, this is a tricky one. Justin Timberlake, I think, would be a tricky one. Does that make sense? And that posture, that weird posture he gave him. I mean, it's just great stuff. And he's a good guy to look at just for pure shape language.
I like his shadow.
Yeah. And then he didn't do anything to the ear. He just left it like that. And then I love the way he angled the brim or the band on the hat. I just like everything about it. And that weird way he's got his hands in his pockets and that weird posture. And then there's sometimes you hit things graphically or whatever, just as a shape where you go, that makes no sense, that shape, but it's perfect. You know what I mean? Like an ear doesn't look anything like that, but that's perfect. And you have to like go with that stuff. What people try and do is they start jumping to those solutions before they understand how to, that's why the people thing and drawing observationally and all that stuff to me is so important. It's like, this is where you get your core understanding of drawing and observation and shape and form and all those things. Then you can play. Does that make sense? Not jumping to character design when you can't draw people. I mean, that's ridiculous. Okay. This is really nice. This is exactly what I want you to do, Yvette.
Awesome. Okay, thanks.
It's fun when you hit it, right?
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
And like, I always hear students talking about finding their style. It's like, you're not going to find your style. Your style's going to find you. You got to draw, play with all these shapes. Just play. Don't even think about your style. Your style will just happen. Okay?
Got it.
Let me get a screenshot here before I forget. Well, you guys got a lot of chat going on. That's good.
We've been chatting.
Huh?
So we've been chatting amongst ourselves while you were talking.
Good, I like that. Let me get a screen grab here. Oh, by the way, I was thinking about this. So usually in between terms, one of us or all of us or some of us or whatever will do workshops, okay? And that workshop is designed to pay for easel, to keep easel free, right? Okay. But I'm thinking, as long as easel is taken care of after this crazy crap is over, as long as easel's taken care of and we don't, if we're covered, I think we should be, then I want to do, and I think I did a free workshop last time. I want to do a free workshop, especially for this class and probably for my illustration class. And I'm going to go over what I do in demo day. I'll go over that, and I might expand it. And there's and some of the stuff in here that if we can go, and it's just going to be, I want to just do it where it's casual, and I'll go, if you guys want to do the March field trip, I'm going to go out there, or you guys suggest someplace. We'll also be in the classroom. I'll go, here's how you use acrylic, here's how you use gouache, here's how you use that. And I'm just going to do it for free because everybody's been really good about all this, number one. And I do want to cover that stuff. And I don't think you should have to take a class over again to do that. So I might just do like I don't know, 3 days in a row, 1 day for a couple of weeks, something like that, where I feel I can just cover a lot of stuff, on location or however you want to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, nice.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Somebody gonna say something? So anyway, I like doing them free anyway. The only reason I charge for them is because, again, it goes to easel. I love doing free ones because if they're free ones, I can kind of go, I can cover whatever the hell I want to cover and I don't have to worry about it, And I think it's a good catch-all thing also. So when you guys come in and go, hey man, we didn't get to March Field, let's do March Field because I love March Field, or the Natural History Museum, and also, again, be on campus. I'm going to show you, I like to do that demo day thing where I can show you kind of an overview of different mediums, okay? And there was one other thing. What was it? Shit, I just lost my train of thought. I'm doing I did a quick drawing for my Photoshop 101 class. And then I'm going to paint that in Photoshop. That's why I did it. But I think, and I'll put that here too, because I do think it's relevant. It's a good way to go, here's how you can take a quick sketch and completely finish it out and paint it and refine it in Photoshop without putting a bunch of work into the sketch, which I do think is important. But I'm going to try to do the same sketch, also like an acrylic, and go, just film the whole thing, narrate it or whatever. And so you can kind of see, here's a digital version and here's a painted version. Does that make sense? And that'll be a good thing to kind of show you how I approach acrylic and what I would be showing you on demo day. Because on that one, I think I can just turn the camera on and paint it, and then I'll go back in and narrate it. Okay? Make sense?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yep.
Let me see. All right. Is anybody else having? I'm just kind of looking at things randomly.
Mike, I had one question about one of my drawings.
Okay.
Jessica.
Oh, I'm looking at yours right now.
Oh, okay, cool. There was one. It's a character with kind of like a large bomber jacket. Like the sleeves look kind of big. She's got like a cigarette holder. I wanted to make the bottom half, because it cuts off, I wanted to make it more like flowy bell bottoms, but I didn't know how to approach it where it didn't just look flat.
Bell bottoms. I mean, it depends on. Well, I think it's the same thing as like if you're doing any kind of pants, which is, you're going to sort of have this pant idea.
Mike, can you share your screen?
Oh, I'm not sharing it? Shit.
No.
Where you're coming down, the only real difference here is that obviously they flare out at the bottom.
I think one large part is that in the picture she's kind of crossing her legs, and I was just like, man, I don't know how to form that.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Do a different pose if you want. I actually, you want her leaning against that thing like that?
That was just a start. I kind of like how it's a little menacing.
You know, I'd probably emphasize that a little bit. Much more,
Okay.
you know, much more, probably see that pinky a little bit. I like how long this thing is. And then they usually have this kind of little bit of ash coming off, smoke, right?
Yeah.
But that really, and then one of the things with like leaning, and you're getting a pretty good version of it here. Then I go, okay, how far can I push that? You know? And is this hand maybe, it feels like it'd be right for this hand to be on the hip.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it's a little more attitude-y.
Yeah.
You know, and then this one can be up. And then the main thing about this leaning thing, and you have it here, is if this leg has to be the right way. If you do it backwards, it doesn't work. Like if you lean against something, there's a certain way your legs have to work.
Yeah.
And I think it's this one usually is the one that's leaning, I think. Well, it looks like what you have, so it probably is. But, you know, and can I push this leg even further? These kind of things I'm going to push and play around with. I love this big collar. I'll probably push that even further.
Yeah.
Who is this person?
It was based off of someone on the sartorialist. She actually didn't have glasses on, but she looked like just that very androgynous, like intense look. And I was like, that's really sick. I like that.
You know, push the glasses.
That was another thing. I had this thing where I was trying to make the glasses bigger, but I think like the nose would almost get in the way. Like I didn't know how to form it without it like cutting into the nose too much.
You know what's
so would
really
you just suggest like further out?
When I'm drawing people a lot with glasses on, I don't think I do it. I must have a big nose. But a lot of times it's weird. Like I'll look at the glasses and because I tend to look at things and sort of gulp in information and just start drawing or whatever. And then I'll look back up and I'll look at the placement of the nose and I'll go, that nose is like, it's weird. It's like the glasses are right here and their nose is like almost like in line with here.
Mm-hmm.
It looks really tiny. It looks normal when you're looking at it, but I go, it's weird. Like how does that?
Yeah.
Like mine doesn't do that. My nose is way in the hell down here, but theirs will be like almost up to here in line with the glasses, and it's weird to me. And that's the thing about observational drawing I love so much. It's like if I'm making it up, I'll forget that. But if I'm out drawing, I remember that, you know? So what you want to do with the nose is up to you. Like that nose you could tuck it right up under the glasses right here. And I like this upper lip shape.
Mm-hmm.
That exaggerated this. It kind of does that a little bit. And this is really nice. That shape. That's a really nice, and I like that too, that little, love this like angularity of the cheeks. But I would play around with, you know, how far can I push that?
Yeah.
And then what I like to do, and I know we're not doing color or whatever, but like when I'm painting people or drawing people like this, I had that little watercolor kit. And if they have cool glass, or like I make the glasses big, I'll go in with like just a little bit of like orange or blue watercolor, and I'll just pop a little pop of like colored lens there. And whatever I drew in front of it, or, you know, the eyes would have just kind of sit behind the lens. And that's the only thing I hit with color, you know, it's just that.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm just, you know, you don't have to do that. I'm just saying.
I was actually going to ask about that because I did want to start going in with watercolor on some of them.
Yeah, you could do a little of that. If you want. Are you familiar with it?
Very little practice. Very little like actual, I'd say, like professional introduction. It's more just like kind of playing with it on my own. But
did I already give you guys the basic watercolor wash video?
No.
Okay, so I'll link that today too. And it's just basic washes. Now here's the thing with watercolor. It's actually not that complicated. It's one of the reasons I think it's a good thing to start with. So mixed complements have a small palette. You want to darken a value, mix its complement. Why are you doing that? Because you're mixing color to color. You're not mixing black or something in there, which is just going to deaden your color, okay? Color to color. If I want to darken that green, I'll hit it with a little red, right? Blah, blah, blah. And then it's basically however many washes. I have a video up. I think it's probably maybe an hour. I don't even know if it's that long. And it's like, here's a gradated wash. Here's a dry brush wash. Here's a wet into wet wash. Here's a wet over dry wash. And that's the basic thing of it. And then you just have to start going in and going, when do I use what wash?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
When I teach watercolor, I don't like to teach it as a watercolor class. I like to teach it as a watercolor sketching class because it's much more effective and you learn much more. You learn all the same stuff. I've been in watercolor classes, and I'm not knocking other. And there's people teach it great and all that, but I've been in watercolor classes, or I don't know what it is about watercolor classes, but they can become really boring. Okay.
Flowers.
I think it's because you're sitting in a classroom and you're just working from photos, and I don't know what it is about that, but to me, it's just like watching paint dry sometimes. And anyway, so when Disney called me to go over and do a watercolor class over at Feature Animation, I go, can I teach it as a watercolor sketching class? And they go, why? And I go, and I just told them the same thing, and they go, yeah, that's fine, I don't care. I go, look, you got the whole back lot back there to paint on. It's super fun. I go, everybody will have way more fun, and they'll learn more. You know what I mean? And I just think it's a more effective way of teaching it. So I try, and then when we got there, or when they got a big like studio room for this kind of stuff. I did what's in that video, right? Which took me about 20 minutes there. And I go, okay, let's go outside and paint. And all those people, these are all viz dev people, animators, stuff like that. They'll go, that's it? And I go, that's it. I go, so let's go outside and apply it. And then as soon as we did that, it all made sense to them. You know what I mean? They went, oh, I get it. Okay, that's a wet into wet wash. Like you just made that tree with just a wet and wet wash. I get it. Like you didn't really do anything. I go, right. I go, you let the paint do all the work, and that's just that. If I can get a chance, and I might have put some of the video, I'll have to double check. I might have put some of that in there, whatever I haven't put in there, because I need to, I'm just constant cranking out content right now. So that's what I'm trying to do. And all this stuff will be good anyway for future classes because, I can use this stuff later. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But look at that and just sort of look at the basic washes. That way you have a handle on that. Okay? And then a lot of times, like with the tree, if it's just a mass tree back there, I just wet down that tree shape and I just drop some color into it and I let it bleed a little bit and sort of control a little, and boom, I got a tree. You know what I mean? It's fairly simple. Okay? I know nothing's simple, but I just mean the underlying theory is simple. Okay?
Yes.
And if you think of it simply, you don't get bogged down in like, oh my God, this is so hard. I have a student in this, he's actually gotten a lot better. He would sit there and get all anxiety out and, doing this and oh my God. And it's like, dude, you're never going to get good if you think like that. You got to mellow out. You know what I mean? We all beat ourselves up, and I get it. It's hard. I get it. But it's like beating the crap out of yourself constantly is not going to get you anywhere. We're all going to beat ourselves up a little bit. I get it. But you can't just do that constantly. You got to go. And you have to know when you have a victory. Like James needs to know that those sketches he just did are light years ahead of what I saw at the beginning of the term. You know what I mean? You got to pat yourself on the back on once in a while and then move on and move on. You know what I mean? And don't just sit around and wallow in patting yourself on the back. But when you have a victory, man, pat yourself on the back. It's a big deal and you need to see it. Okay? All right. That's enough of that. Okay. So does this all make sense?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Let me see. Anybody else have questions? What do I do with my window?
I wouldn't mind you having you look at my work, actually.
Kayla?
Yeah.
Today's the 25th, right? Kayla, where are you? Oh, here you are. Oops. Wait, did I just miss one more? Hang on. Ooh, that's a good one. Who's this right here?
It's from Earth's World,
This
so
one?
yeah, they both are.
It looks like Lemmy.
Lemmy?
Yeah, he's a musician.
Ah.
Look. Oh, damn it. I'll pull it up. Damn it. Every time I want to pull something up for you guys, my computer just goes super slow. You know what I mean?
Oh my god, how funny.
It totally looks like him. He looks like him when he's a little bit younger. If you look at a younger picture of him, it totally looks like him.
That's crazy.
This is a great one. This is a nice balance.
Oh, thanks.
It's got some attitude. A nice one here. Oh, this is a nice one here. How much of this stuff have you done before?
What do you mean?
Like this kind of drawing?
For a while, I guess, on my own and from school.
And is this normal for you? This is nice stuff.
So recently it's quite normal. I mean, it's hard for me to go from like very realistic to more cartoony. That's what I'm kind of struggling with, to like simplify.
Well, you're starting to do it here.
Yeah.
You know, this kind of triangular angularity right here.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what you're doing right there, right?
Yeah.
So we can just, you know, take this and just map it. And then maybe he's got a little fuzz on his chin.
That one's my favorite, Kayla.
Thank you.
Don't make these random marks up here. And then on this kind of thing, I might kind of go, you know, here's the bandana. I might put a pattern on that.
Mm-hmm.
You know why? Because I want to make sure that I differentiate it from the hair.
Mm.
Okay? Because what I would do probably is I might put a little bit of his hair popping over this. I don't know if he had a ponytail or what, but I'd give him a ponytail. A little bit of that. You just, I mean, you're starting to do it already. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I can just simplify that really easily. And then I can go, do I see any of his eyes in there? Or does this just become, you know, some kind of reflective idea? You know, I've made it more geometric, so maybe I stay with that with the eyebrows. Maybe they're real geometric.
Mm-hmm.
He feels like he should have a cigarette or something else that he smokes. I always like to put the ashes falling off. And then a little bit of hair here. A little bit of a shadow value. Make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
This
just hard for
right
me.
here, this is a really nice drawing right there.
Oh, thank you.
And you got a lot of nice ones. This one, these are great. The way this hair is rolling over, you're really showing that. You know what I love too is you're putting value in, right? But then like here you made these nice little marks, you know, broke up the end of the hair. These are really nice. Penguin Oz.
Penguins. Oh. Angry penguin now.
Mm-hmm. I love how low this wing or whatever is.
Flipper.
I love drawing over stuff because you guys already did the hard part, and then it just feels like improvisational. I just get to do the easy part. You did great. This is great right here. I love the way that's just sunk into all this darkness.
Thank you.
This is starting to work pretty nice. See, this one has a little bit of that vibe of that Disney thing I showed you guys with the real simple shape breakdowns and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Watch that foot. Is it coming this way? Like that? Right? Did I lose you?
Sorry,
Oh.
forgot to unmute.
Careful here. What's this from?
This is from last night with the costume figure drawing.
Who did that?
Marin? Was it
A
Marin?
Mather.
Mathern.
Oh, she did one like on her own?
Yeah. Yeah, she did it on her own.
What was the costume?
Puss in
Puss.
Boots.
Her variation of Puss in Boots.
Yeah.
She's interesting. She does some fun stuff. What I've been seeing online is, I probably said this before, I don't like these. I think Mather does a lot of nice stuff. There's somebody who's on my Facebook or something named Jennifer Fabos Patton who does the Gallery Girls. You guys know that?
No.
It's all
Yeah.
super burlesque. Like, I don't like that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's always burlesque with them. And it's very provocative. And it's like, this isn't about life drawing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Is
like
it
that
a-
kind of stuff. Huh?
Is it a girl that runs it or a guy?
Girl.
Oh.
It's just, I don't know. I look at that stuff and that started happening like years ago. I'm not a big fan of that kind of thing. And I've had friends who like run life drawing things, and you already have to police them a little bit because weird guys will show up or whatever. But when you're sort of encouraging that kind of behavior where it's like burlesque stuff and drinks and all this stuff, it's like, and whatever, if you want to go out and if they want to do that, I'm not saying they shouldn't do it, but I go, I don't know how serious you are about this. If you just want to, if this is all you want to draw all the time, I think you just want to look at girls, scantily clad girls. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And she just posted some stuff, and it might be because she's, she doesn't have her audience right now or her venues. And it just seems to be getting more and more like that, less clothes, more, questionable. And it's just like, I don't think it's a good thing for artists to start thinking about. And I think it's a bad thing because like when I had models in my class, you got to really put a wall around that model, and there's got to be a certain amount of respect because they're vulnerable in there. And this is a tradition, and you need to respect the tradition of that. And I think when you start breaking all that stuff and start doing all this provocative crap, I don't think it's about life drawing anymore. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whatever. I mean, I can't control it. But I don't like that kind of stuff. I think that like Mather probably just did a costume or whatever, right?
Yeah. It actually reminded me a lot of like the Cats musical.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I was going to say. That's what I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting about her is that she has a lot of crazy costumes and all that kind of stuff. And if you look at pictures of her on her website and stuff, she looks like a different person all the time, which is kind of fun,
Mm-hmm.
I just say just keep going. Now, you were saying about transitioning from like realistic to
More like simplified style.
you're doing it. Well, you're actually doing it not just there, you're doing it here. I mean, this is a pretty simple idea there. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Make sure this is reading. When I do this kind of thing, I like to really sweep that line. And then again, when you have this stuff on the hat, what was it, like flowers and stuff?
There was flower feathers, and then her cat ears were popping out.
So you need those cat ears. So I might emphasize a little more. And then, but I'm also, you got to make a bigger statement when you go into these like flower ideas. I mean, they can still just be indication-y. And then, like, you know, find a shape language for the feather and make a bigger statement with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You always want to make that. And I wouldn't have this hard line. I'd have it. I made the hard line. You didn't. You know, and this is a furry collar. I want to get some sense of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I might break it over here. Might be a fold there. I'm going to simplify that. This can wrap around the back right there. And then there's probably a fold like right here somewhere. And then usually the shoe comes down like that, and then it goes up, and then the toe of the shoe actually tilts up. Look at your feet. When your feet are on the ground, the front of your shoe, your toes here aren't usually touching. You know, your shoe tips up. You know what I mean? Yeah?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. It's something that for some reason people don't notice. They always have the shoes like flat. And then this back part, you know, it's sort of like that. And then this dips and that goes up, usually. This might have a fold there. I like this little, love this little fold right there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think this actually, this shoe, oops,
Mm-hmm.
hang on. I think this shoe probably should be about there.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now you can do that on your paper too. Like that's why we have that sketch paper, right? You just throw it over it and you adjust. So that feels a little better.
Yeah, it does.
You know, and then maybe I put like the tie things here. Whatever was there, I don't know what was there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, something like that, right?
Right.
Yeah, we just plus it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I didn't do hardly anything to it. It's already there. I'm just sort of plussing it, right?
Right.
Ain't brain surgery. And one of the, I might have said this also, but one of the main reasons I like doing the overlays on your work, it's one of the things that worked the best for me when I was a student, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because it wasn't an abstract of him showing me something and going, wow, that looks really cool. He would take my stuff and go, here's what's working, and then here's how I can push it further. And what that was also doing is helping me to get more sophisticated in my drawing language, right?
Right.
You know,
I guess with I'm sorry. I guess with me, when it comes to doing like the people faces, and when I go into like simplifying, I feel like they come more flat rather than what I'm trying to keep. I want to keep like the faces dimensional, but I stray too much into the details if I do that. But then when I go the opposite
okay, so
way,
one of the things you can do that I do
mm-hmm.
is I found sort of landmarks of things, it's hard to explain, of things that when I'm simplifying are things that will negate the flatness, okay? So if you're doing this like simple, like that one you had, or the hippie guy, or whatever it was, the stoner guy, or whatever, you know, and I'm just riffing, okay? So like there's a lot of them, okay? One of them is if I place this brow line a little bit over the bottom part of the face, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can still go super cartoony with those eyes, but there's a certain like hint of the idea of anatomy and form. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then, you know, the nose, right? Another one that's important is this little cheek mask that hits that. If I don't have that, that whole section sort of goes flat, right?
Mm-hmm.
That shows a mask moving against another mask. I can also do a little indication that's zygomatic arch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, you don't have to do all of these, but you know, you find them, okay? And then this unit of the mouth, where it kind of comes up this way, and then that lip behind it, and then that chin. And you can see that's super simple, but it's got form. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm just looking for those little, you know, that little Adam's apple there. Especially young guys always put the Adam's apple really prominent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now this guy feels like he should have, I don't know why, but he feels like he should have a big bow tie. I don't know why. You know, and then I go, okay, what's a graphic language for the hair? Where if you have hair, you usually have that little point right there, and then it goes back into the sideburns, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I can go, okay, it's all graphic language. Let's see how it's starting to have form.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we can do is take little clues from the anatomy and things like that. Like I learned over the years, if I didn't put that little cheek mask right there, all of a sudden that went flat. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then maybe I can do a little indication of the arch. A little bit of a dark value under his bottom lip right here. You know, that other cheek's over there. Put glasses on him, all of a sudden he's a different person, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting how you can just go, little things, man, just change everything, you know? You raise an eyebrow, and then the other eyebrow does this. That's a totally different thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Did that answer that?
No, that helped a lot.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
You know, so then we got this kind of, I don't know who he is. He seems a little formal, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I keep going with that.
It's like Bill Nye.
Yeah. All right, that's a good one. So then you go, okay, so then I start in with the beakers and the test tubes. And I can get the little bloop, 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 bloop stuff happening, right?
Right.
I love that. That's a great idea. You know, these things. Has some kind of liquid in it. Same thing where I get the big stuff bubbling above it. Then I might go back here and go, maybe on a jar back here, he's got some weird creature in there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Something with like tentacles coming out of here. And if I put the tentacles right, you'll never see exactly what's in there, which makes it better. Right?
Yeah.
You know, then I got another one coming out here. You know, and it's on a shelf. Then I got another jar here, and I put some other crazy thing in that, so on and so forth, right? I put Jimmy Hoffa's head in there, right? Just whatever. You know, he's got all this crazy stuff back there. Train of thinking, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the reason I emphasize that so much, it's if you're really great at your craft, which is the drawing, the painting, the design, blah blah blah, but you're really good at this part of it, where somebody can hand you a brief and you can start cranking out whatever it is, characters, backgrounds, ideas, whatever. You're going to be much more valuable. You're going to make bigger money. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. Okay.
I've had people like that where I hired people and they don't have any imagination, and it's like it's really annoying actually. You know what I mean? Because you're going, hey, I need a bunch of ideas for this. I don't have time to do it right now. Can you do it? Blah, blah, blah. And you come back and they got 2 ideas and they're not even good ideas. And you're like, man, really? Like you can't come up with some ideas here? I don't get it. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, you'll cobble together your own methodology, probably have some of it, but I think it's just free thinking, basically, right? Just letting go of, you know, doing your research and then going, okay, I got all these things from the research and everything. Now I'm just going to start drawing, you know? And I've done some drawings kind of based on what I'm going to do. And now I'm going to go. Huh?
As far as that, what you were just saying, did that come to you quite easily, or was that something you had beforehand, like going into?
I think that probably came to me easily because and the only reason I say that is because when I was a kid, I don't remember going through that much of a copying thing. I would copy books that had fundamental information in it, like here's how you break down a head. I didn't have this figured out at all, by the way. I would just go, I want to learn how to do that. And that guy showed me how to do it. So that stuff I would copy and try and learn it. But I don't remember having much of a phase where I was drawing Mighty Mouse or other people's characters. And I think, and I know it was because I just didn't make sense to me. I go, why would I sit here and draw somebody else's character? Somebody already thought of this. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm not working for them. So why would I draw this? I didn't get it. So I was always, as I remember, always drawing like my own scenarios, my own characters, if you want to call it that. But basically my own scenarios and my own stuff. I just wanted to draw my own stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know
And
that exactly.
there was always this sense of, there was a big, heavy sense of imagination. And I think a lot of that was probably just normal for kids at that time, to be honest with you. It's like, I mean, maybe not. I don't know. I had a buddy when I was about 11, and we got this sounds super primitive. This is going to totally date me, but I got like a cassette recorder for Christmas, and it was like the greatest thing in the world. It was like a supercomputer to me, right? I could like record stuff. And we'd start making these little, he was a really cool friend. We'd start making these little theater, like, what do you call that? Audio theater things with it. And when we didn't think about it, but we go, oh, we got some cellophane. That sounds like fire, you know? And then we start building this whole silly, I wish I had those tapes. I'd love to hear them. And then me and him would just go down all these crazy rabbit. I built a harness to hang him from a tree to make him look like he was, you know, not knowing how dangerous that was. And anyway, his dad put a stop to that. But just stuff like that. We're just doing all this crazy stuff. And it was all just imaginative stuff. And it was so much fun to have a friend who was in on it with you, who got it. You know what I mean? And actually, I don't remember having other friends like that. So maybe it was a unique thing. But I think it's that, I think you get this, I think most kids have a pretty good imagination, and then it gets beaten at you as you get older. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of times parents do it. You know? Oh, what are you doing thinking about that stuff? That's crazy. You need to be doing this. You need to be doing that. You know, no. You need to let your imagination go. And it's like, if you can just let go, I think a lot of people could tap into it. You know what I mean? And I think it's that I always say, it's that whenever you're, like when I was managing people doing toys and stuff like that, I go, look, man, a brainstorm is nothing but just getting in the sandbox and making stuff. That's all it is. You know what I mean? Only we get to actually make it and put it in the world, which is awesome, right?
Right.
But it's just getting in that sandbox and playing. It's that childlike. All this stuff is tapping back into that thing when you were playing with your favorite toys and you were making stuff up. That's all this is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that helps.
That's all this is. Okay? It's just like be a kid again. Like I run into kids all the time, and I'll sit there and start drawing stuff or whatever, and they'll make the weirdest associations and the weirdest comments. You know what I mean? But they're great because they don't have any sense of like, oh, I'm supposed to say this, and oh, my research shows me this. They just go, hey, and they say something super crazy, and you go, that's a cool idea. You know what I mean? And then the other thing is like part of the reason that we want to learn this fast sketching techniques is that we can just let our mind wander and feel comfortable that it's that direct line. That's a direct line, right? Your brain right out spills out from your hand, right? That's where you want to be, right? You don't want to have to sit around and get, you know, and not knocking computers, you know, get on Cintiq, draw, and it's all great. But the point is, it just spilling all these ideas out and realizing like none of these ideas are precious. I'm just whipping through ideas, and I got to get my brain warmed up, and I got to get my hands warmed up. And that's when all this stuff starts to happen. When I'm on the 25th drawing, I'm going, okay, now it's starting to flow. Now I'm getting it. I really think the drawing is a method into that flow. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because what people are doing, if they don't have any technique or anything, they're sitting around thinking about technique. You know, they're struggling through the drawing itself, which means your brain's not on the imagination part. Your brain's on the, I don't know how to draw this part. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you're not getting to the good stuff because you're just on, I don't know how to draw this, you know, and we don't want to be there, you know?
But is that a natural part of being stuck on the technique?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, okay, I don't know anything about cars, okay? And I don't care about cars. But I admire people when they go buy some broken down old piece of crap from 1940. Then they just sit out in that garage and they meticulously put it all together and they make it beautiful again. It looks like it just rolled off the assembly line. I mean, I admire that. I don't really want to do it. But like if I did want to do it, it would be a huge learning curve for me. And probably the guys who like doing that, or women or whoever, they do it because they love doing it. You know what I mean? And they're not thinking, they know that stuff. So they just go, yeah, I got to put this here and do that. It's the same thing. It's building something and knowing how to build it. But if I went and started learning that craft, the whole first part of it's going to be frustrating to me. It's not going to be intuitive. I'm not going to understand how that mechanism works because I don't understand any of that stuff. I got to learn all this stuff. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then I can sit in my garage and enjoy it after 5, 6, 7, 8 years of struggle or whatever. And now I can enjoy it because I understand what I'm doing and I can just enjoy this, what I love about that process, which is this slow restoration of this thing. Does that make sense? So, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Yes, it's normal.
Yeah, because I feel like that. It's like I feel that I talk to a lot of people and they're like, oh yeah, I just love painting so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I love drawing. But I don't know. I don't think I have that enjoyment, but I recognize that struggle. And that struggle at the end of it is what is like fulfilling.
Yes. And let me tell you something. The more you do this and the better you get at it, man, if you get really good at it, it pays off in spades, man. It's like I never get sick of drawing. I love it, and painting and all that stuff. Like it just keeps getting better and better. So one of the few things is as you get older, you get better at. You know, unlike being an athlete or something like that, where you just decline. You don't decline really. If you're lucky enough to keep your health and your eyes and all that stuff in your brain, you just can keep getting better and better and better at it. And it just enriches your life in a way that you have no idea. It's amazing, you know? And that's where it gets into hippy dippy territory. And I'm not a hippy dippy dude, but there's something super, whatever you want to call it, joyous or whatever. I went out yesterday to do that video here and I'm like, man, I love being out here doing this. You know what I mean? Like setting up all the gear, even all that. It was just like, yeah, it's a big pain in the ass, but man, it's fun. Like what is better than that? I might see an eagle, was looking for eagles. I don't know, you know, just being outside. I love that. Like this whole social distancing thing, welcome to my lifestyle. That's basically my lifestyle all the time anyway. I'm out by myself doing my thing. You know what I mean? I mean, I like to draw people and I like to be in places like that, but I got a whole forest up here I can draw in, you know? And it's fun. The whole place is a playground. The whole world's a playground if you got a sketchbook. The whole world's a playground. It's all yours. You know, you can make all those people characters. You can design those buildings. I mean, on and on and on. It's all yours. Does that make sense?
Yep.
You know, that's the only time you get to play God. You can move mountains. You can do whatever you want. You know what I mean? Not many people get to do that. It's a unique skill, man. That's why everybody comes up to me and goes, wow, I'd like to be able to do that. It's like, bet you would, man. Go work at it for 20 years. You know, and what I'm trying to do here, hopefully, is accelerate that a little bit. I feel like if I give you a methodology and even like an awareness of certain things, that hopefully it'll speed that up. And I do think it speeds it up because I see it all the time. Okay. Hang on.
Thank you.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions? Everybody's good? Does anybody want to do another midweek thing?
Yes.
I'm down for the midweek thing.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
I
so
also,
I'm going to do it the same way, which is I will just post it on Canvas. You don't have to respond to it. You just show up or not show up. Okay, there's no, it's just a check-in. If you feel like you got questions and you want to talk about stuff or what, by then I'm going to have the videos up. You might have questions around that. That's one of the main reasons I want to do the midweek thing, because I want to put up 2 videos. And if there's stuff in there that you have questions about, then I want to be available to do that. Am I still here?
I kind of lost you there.
You are cutting off a lot.
How about now?
Good right now.
I'm good. All right. The midweek thing is, there's, in case you have, well, it's just in general, but if I'm going to put up 2 videos, and if you have questions on that stuff, because it's going to be kind of new, kind of not, then we can talk about it then. Okay. What else am I going to say?
I was wondering, I have a question.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you could quickly go over some of my sketches.
Were you in my folder?
Yeah, I'm in the folder. I put on the April 25th folder.
This morning?
Yeah, this morning.
Oh, here you are. I have a really hard time seeing these things. I don't know why. I think I'm dyslexic. Let me close all these.
If you can go over mine too afterwards, if not, I can wait for the midweek.
No, I
as
will.
well.
I'm just kind of skipping through them because finding ones that I feel like are valuable to everybody.
So we're not valuable.
No, it's not that. I mean, things that I see that I go, okay, everybody can benefit from this conversation. Does that make sense? It has nothing to do with the quality of the sketch, really. It just has to do when I'm looking at things and going, oh, this is a good place to talk about simplification or something like that. Okay, so what are you thinking?
I don't know. She kind of looks a little bit lopsided. I've also been struggling when it comes to like some shapes of the glasses. Like this one, his glasses are a little smaller, like really small.
Let me find. You have a picture of him here? Why is he wearing 2 hats?
I have no clue, but I
Okay.
showed who's my first one.
I like that face.
Actually, if you guys know Todd Smith, the professor, he wears 2 hats.
I didn't know where Todd wear 2 hats.
Yeah, he does it when he's like going down to the car or whatever for the weekend, and he puts on both his hats. And then he did it. We went to some function where the president of the college was there, and he took one of them off. But I know the president's seen him, and I go, and we were talking to the president, and I go, why don't you put your other hat on, Todd? And he got all pissed off about it. Okay, so for one thing, it's interesting about this is we're talking about, I don't know, expressions and things. And he's got this kind of big, I mean, his proportions look really weird, but I think it's just because of his hair. But he's got this kind of like Gordy shape, and then it dives way in over here. And then his what's interesting, and then if you look at his, like here, we're not quite getting it. He has a big sort of smiley thing underneath that mustache. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And then if you notice, his chin sort of is way back here. And then he has this big forehead thing going on. And then I'm getting really wonky with my shapes, but that's because I'm kind of jumping around. You know, he's got this big ball on his nose. And then this kind of handlebar mustachy thing sort of emphasizes the smile because it also starts to go up. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then this big, whatever you call that, cheek mass or whatever. And then I would probably make these even smaller, maybe. I'd have to play with it. And then he's also got these lines right there on his head. That's a good graphic thing. So if I have a head shape, I got nose. He's got this nice little furrowed brow thing going on. He's got a ball on his nose. And then this nice little angle right there. And then this weird, he's got weird hair. So you can see what he's doing. He's like, I don't know what he's putting in his hair, but he's got this like, it looks super sprayed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like super, like he spends time on that, you know? You know, and then he's got, but it's all about that. It's all about this unit. And then the way that chin is like pulled back further than it actually feels like it should be. And then that great cheek mass angle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like that's what I've been struggling. I wasn't sure if it was just the shadowing. I wasn't sure because it looks like the bottom part of his chin was like more back.
Well, I like this bit. I mean, he's got a bunch of cool, interesting things going on. But one of them is this like weird bulby. He's got a lot of this weird bulby kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then these little, there's a little bump in his nose, and he's got kind of a little bit of a needle nosy thing going on. But, and then that big cheek mask is he's got a big smile. But this is like way back here. And then that chin, here, it's all about that right there. The way that chin comes back like that, and this, and a little bit of that shelf for the neck. And then I love this weird, and then the thing I like about this weird hair thing is that I can kind of come down here and I can really sort of overly show that because it's so kind of structured. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Like his hair is super structured. And thinning hair there. And what I'm looking for is like, okay, how do I like this weird, I don't know if I'd show his eyes in there or not.
His eyes are kind of like hidden under the shadows. I tried to add him in there, but it just makes it look like he's squinting.
Yeah, I think I'd just do something like that where I put a value in him or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then again, probably give him a little bit of value on his nose. And he's still got some. So again, I'm just looking for graphic solutions, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably give him a different shirt. Like a Grateful Dead shirt or something.
Mm-hmm.
He feels like he'd be one of those kind of guys. little glare on his glasses. You know, some kind of thing on his shirt. He's even got a little bit of the long hair thing. I just noticed that in the back. So what do you, okay, so when I look at a guy like this, I mean, this guy's like my age, maybe older, I'm not sure. He's still, you know, even though he's got no hair and everything, he's got that little bit of hair on the back there is telling me he still thinks of himself kind of like a hippie. He's got the round glasses. You know what I mean? Where'd you go?
Ooh, you are cutting off quite a lot.
Am I?
Yeah.
Crap.
I
Anyway.
can hear you pretty clear.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So it's all Teresa's fault. It's on her computer.
What the heck?
Anyway, what I'm
That's
saying is that
crazy.
it's kind of like what we were talking about last week with Jesse and the guy with a safety pin in his ear. It's a signifier. It's like, yeah, dude, I used to be a punk rock guy. This guy's like, yeah, I used to be a hippie. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
At least that's the way I read it, and I bet you I'm right. If you're wearing round glasses, you got no hair, but you still got the like little bit of long hair in the back, you still think you're a hippie. It's hanging on to your youth, which you can't do. Okay?
Yeah.
Does that make sense, that shape breakdown?
Yep.
Okay. It's all about that unit. Boom, being pulled back a little bit. Okay? And what I do like about the guy is he's got a nice, he's got a big smile and he looks kind. Okay? Oh, and he has no eyebrows. So I would probably give him some eyebrows. Now see this guy, then I go to, so let's look at this guy real quick. Where'd he go? And I think I did this with Todd already, but I can't remember. I mean, this just makes me go think of height. If that makes any sense. So does this now become I'm just going to do this real quick. I don't care about likeness, I care about ideas. But the main thing is that this part, him having that hats like that, I probably have to stylize him a lot more. This can go a couple of ways where it's either going, where I'm going to really extend the height of that maybe, or I'm going to keep going with this idea of, you know, baseball hat, cowboy hat, fedora.
Oh,
I'm going to pile them up so they're like 8 feet high. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then I got to figure out, and then my brain's going to go, why? Oh, because he's a hoarder like Todd, and he carries his whole hat hoarding thing around. He's like, hey, it's my whole hat collection. It's got to go with me wherever I go.
Gotta put a tiny hat at the top.
Yeah, and a little tiny hat at the top. And then usually, I don't know why whenever I do these stack things, I got that, and then yeah, a little tiny hat, and then I usually put like a bird or something at the top of it. Because then I just
Bird has a hat. The bird has a hat.
Yeah, and then the bird has a hat. Yeah. Like I did like a little squirrel with like a little cowboy hat. You know what I mean? Then you just, and then it's like, okay, what's that relationship? It's just constantly fueling my thinking. You know what I mean? Okay, does that make sense?
Yep.
Is that from Earth's World too?
Oh my God.
I've looked through almost all the folders and I saw that one. I was like, well, might as well.
Man, that's this one right here.
Mm-hmm.
That weird, verticality of that person.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
obviously it's being emphasized by that high cut of the, whatever that is. Bathing suit, I don't know what that is.
I have no clue.
There's a lot of fun there. And I'd make that hair like crazy big and then play that against all that skinny.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe also I might go, if I have that big crazy hair, if I have this big crazy hair shape.
There's a hiccup, but thank you.
This comes down. I might just see the nose, and that's all. And maybe the glasses. Maybe there's some big glasses here and a nose. And then the rest of it's just all hidden by this hair shape, skinny neck,
Lanky
super
body.
elongated, skinny body.
Yeah, that's what I was like going for because I didn't see no eyes because of the zoom. So all I did was the hair and the little nose sticking out.
Yeah, I love that. Or it could be even a bigger nose, Nose could get a lot bigger. Maybe I just see the chin. Glasses, and that's it. You know what I mean? Something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just whatever that shape sparks, That's a good one. I love this right here. I always like this. Like there's the nose. I like when I can see things this clearly, and then this kind of goes out this way, right?
Yeah.
Now sometimes I look at that for likeness because sometimes here's the nose, and then this goes in this way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes here's the nose, and this just goes straight down. And then sometimes here's the nose, and then I take that and I go, this looks like it's way down here, like the mouth's way down here with a small chin. And I just keep playing with all those things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Keep going. Just do what we just talked about, and now kind of start placing that into it. Does that make sense?
Yep. Got it.
Oops. This guy looks like an asshole, to be honest. This guy right here. I don't know why. He just looks like a douchebag, Those are like such douchey glasses.
You got two hats. You're just jealous.
Yeah, maybe. I do like hats. Actually, I do a variation on that because I realized after this thing happened, we went home. I had like 8 hats in my car. I had my summer hats, my warm weather hats, my cool hats, my whatever. Okay, who was asking me to look at something?
Me, Barbara.
Let me see. I have them in here?
Yep, you should.
Yep.
They're a little bit.
These are nice. Like this one. That's an interesting face. See, now that's somebody who's good looking, has an interesting face, right?
Yeah.
That's breaking all my, because I don't like to get in this thing where it's like, oh, good looking people are no fun to draw. It's like, that's not true. She's got a really interesting face.
Yeah, I really enjoyed drawing her lips. That was fun.
And I also like the way you're thinking here. You're starting to roll this stuff over. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, once you do all that, which you did, you know, you're massing it. That's what you want to do. You know, then you can do, you know, a stray hair, or, you know, give it a little of that extra flyaway stuff if you want to do that to break it up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This top lip's probably going to value.
Okay.
You know, probably get a little cast back down there. Now, all her hair is dark, which doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter if you want it dark or not. But again, I can go, okay, well, I could frame out her face a little bit with that. And again, she's also breaking the rule where I go, well, usually with guys, I'll show that jawline, but she's got a very angular face, you know?
Mm-hmm.
This is a nice one. When you're doing these kind of things, again, I'm not seeing it. Were they sort of rolling like almost like
Yeah, it was kind of difficult to see. It's kind of dark in the picture that I got, so I was just kind of like.
Yeah, I think I just would have gone a little heavier on it, like.
Okay.
Wait, hang on. I don't know why my brush keeps disappearing. Oh. Hang on, I have to redo my walk-in again. No. I should cut that out of my video, but I won't go that far. I'd probably just go a little heavier on sort of showing the angle of it. You know, really show that that's rolling over and that there's a second, you know, get that little highlight on there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, usually these things are some variation on a cylinder. And they're kind of doing that. Some variation on that, okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that like because I didn't want to make it too crowded with the lines, I guess. I just
Yeah, you can do it as one big tone.
Okay.
It doesn't always have to be line. A lot of times I'm doing line because I'm on the computer and it's a little more, it takes me a second to switch the brush.
Okay.
But no, absolutely. It could just be, you know, you do it. You just do it with a big brush, which would be the side of your pencil, right?
Yeah.
You know, just like that.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
She's got to be a model, right?
Yeah, I just looked at I looked up interesting faces.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't it weird how like you can just type in the most obvious thing and boom, it all comes up?
Yeah.
It's got a nice balance to it. I saw the picture of it. That's an interesting face. Oh, I see. This is the girl, right?
Yeah, I mean it's all dark up there, but
Yeah, I can kind of see what's going on. It's all, you know, sweeping this way and then sweeping up around that. You can see that sweep, right?
mm-hmm.
And this is what I'm going to take off on if I'm doing this. This nice little sweep. And this one. And I love all this stuff. This stuff I'd probably start to mass again and sort of mass it. You know, and then I do my little flyaway bits of hair and stuff like that. This stuff, I don't worry about it. I can go into shadow. And then there's a really nice little One more here. All this stuff over here is going to describe this so well that this can all go into shadow over here and it'll be fine.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
That's a nice balanced drawing. Give it a little line quality. Pop it like you did here and here,
Okay.
right? And when you're doing those things, like this is a pretty nice line right there. Make sure that this one's got a nice clean quality to it here. A lot of times I'm kind of coming in here and sweeping that, okay? Well, your enemy, the enemy is timid line. I don't think you have timid lines here. But when people do this thing where they start drawing like this, you get a straight line, it gets all wobbly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to do a straight line, like, boom, that's it, right? Or a curved line, boom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, so does that answer that?
Yeah.
Is that from Earth's World or is that just from whatever?
That's just from Instagram.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you know the context of that? Of why she
No, I
posted it?
don't.
Huh?
She's just a friend of like a friend of a friend.
I just trip out on the stuff people post on social media. It's weird to me.
Yeah, I think it's about body positivity and not shaming.
Yeah, I guess.
That kind of stuff.
Okay. You know what I mean? I don't know. Whatever. I don't know. Yesterday somebody popped up. I think they liked something of mine. I checked who they were. Endless selfies, endless selfies, endless selfies, years and years of selfies. And I'm just like, I don't get that. I just don't get it. Like, why would I want to look at that? You know what I mean? Unless you're somebody interesting, I guess. You know what I mean? Okay, anybody else have questions? You guys are good?
Nobody has any other questions. I uploaded another drawing or a sketch that I did while we were doing lecture from that character we were working on earlier. Can you check that out? If that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Did you do mine after?
Who's that?
Carnegie.
Carnegie. Okay.
Yeah, my headphones weren't working.
Did mine?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Does that
Yeah.
read?
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I just wanted to make sure that was like still read well and like it looked proportionally right to me, but
Yeah, you gotta, play around in here a little bit. But I mean, it's a quick one. You're always going to refine, right? Somebody's hot pockets are ready.
Better share.
Huh? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I might show a little of that. And I know it's a quick sketch. I get it. In these martini things, they have like a little bit of places where they get a little bit of that. And then the trick to showing a glass with liquid in it is it doesn't touch the sides. Sometimes it'll get a little bit of a shine on the top of the surface. Get an olive in there, right?
Cool.
And then here, I like to do stuff like this, and bend a little more. And if I can find anything, like I know they don't do it anymore, but I always liked they give you the little hook, you know, they'd have bars that would have matches, right? Maybe this is on a cocktail napkin. Maybe there's something else over here. And maybe something here breaking that silhouette. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm. Totally.
That's perfect. That pose is perfect.
Awesome. I had to have my partner pose it out. Which
Say it
was,
again.
what was that?
Somebody said something.
Oh, I said I had my partner pose and I took a picture of it. Of them doing that, so it was helpful to work off of like a photo. Somebody doing that pose.
I'm wondering if I can. I just moved her eyes sideways. That's up to you. I don't care about that. Man, I'm also just wondering. I have no idea if this will work or not. If like maybe one eyebrow goes up or something. Just play around with it is my point, right?
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, that's great. That's exactly it. And then now when you do the next pose, yeah, same thing, you know, just, and also don't get stuck. Like, I like that pose if she's got that arm on that, but if it's like, if you keep working through it and you're like, I can't get that to work, try a different one, right?
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I have a really good idea and it is a good idea, but for some reason for me, if I can't get it working, a lot of times I'll just go, okay, I'm going to try something else, you know? And that's usually just, I don't know, it's just not working for me. It's a good idea. It's just not working. All right. Did somebody else have something?
I did.
Oh, okay. Who's doing the dishes? Or renovating a room?
Would it be easier if I posted my reference material next week?
You can. I mean, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Ooh, these are nice.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't need reference for these. Oh, that's great. Those are great, man.
Those are cool.
So what's your major?
Entertainment art.
These are great. Have you had character yet?
No.
Okay. Man, I love this page. Yeah, I love this guy right here.
Yeah, I think that one came out the best.
Yeah, that's great. So much to play with there, man. Great. This one right here. Man, that hair is great. Great. Damn it. I've got too many of my own things in here. So what are you thinking character-wise? You think you're going to use this accordion guy?
Sorry, you cut out.
Do you think you're going to use this accordion guy for your character start?
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of like the look of the guy playing the accordion.
Okay, great. I mean, just keep going with it.
Okay.
I mean, this is great, man. You know?
I like that one a lot.
I do too.
Thank you.
That's a strong drawing too. That's a nice strong drawing. Okay.
Okay.
what was I going to say? There used to be a guy, and I'm so mad at myself that I never did a painting of this guy or even drew him. There used to be a guy who played Olvera Street. This is a long time ago. He used to sit on the ground towards the plaza, and he was blind, and he'd just sit there and play accordion all day, for money or whatever. Man, he was an interesting looking guy, and it was just such an interesting thing. I don't know why I never, and plus he's blind, so he doesn't know I'm even drawing him. You know what I mean? So it would have been perfect. But I never got, and I always thought, I'll go back and get him next week, and all of a sudden he disappeared. I don't know what happened to him. Take advantage of that stuff when you see it, I'd love to have that guy, a nice sketch of that guy that I could have worked into a painting. Yeah, these are great. I mean, you're doing exactly what I want you to do. Okay?
Okay. Is there anything I should add or work on?
I mean, maybe, I can nitpick it. Maybe, this hand, I might have sort of worked out more as a
solid.
Yeah, start off with kind of a solid and then work it in. Just stuff like that. I think this hand's working pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're nice drawings.
Yeah.
And just my advice, do a million more.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, other questions? Okay, so I'm going to put the thing up on Wednesday. I think it's for Wednesday. Show up if you want to. Don't show up if you don't want to. It's totally casual. If you have questions, again, you're going to have more material by then, so you might have questions. And I'll pop in. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah?
Mike.
Great job, you guys. I'm super stoked. You guys are doing a great job. And it's hard to do lock down like this, man. It's I get it. But you guys are doing a really good job. And this is my favorite class. And it's still, even online, it's still my favorite class because I like this interaction. I don't know why I get good students in here, and they tend to work hard. And I like having all these conversations with you guys about drawing. It's just purely what I like. Okay? All right, you guys. Then I will see you if you want to on Wednesday. Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, you guys.
Bye.
Go draw.
Yeah, Mike. Sorry for the noises.
Bye, Mike.